It's a lovely day in the Lone Star State, a beautiful blue sky day to go IndyCar racing as we welcome you to the XPEL 375 here at Texas Motor Speedway in Fort Worth, Texas for round 2 of the NTT IndyCar Series for 2022. Hi folks, Lee Diffie along with James Hinchcliffe and Townsend Bell ready to go racing here for some 248 laps. Townsend, Texas Motor Speedway, we associate it with high speeds, high risk, lots of action. What's it like to race here?
Well, I associate it with sweaty palms. This place is sketch. There's 27 drivers. They're going to be doing the Texas two-step on the tip of the needle all day long. This place is high stakes, high rewards, but it gets your attention.
And talk about close racing. Hinch was a part of the closest ever finish in IndyCar Series history. He got pipped by Graham Rahal by 8/1000ths of a second. That was an exhilarating finish.
It was a great finish, a great race. Came up on the wrong side of that one, but for me today, it's about the unknowns. Normally we race in June, not in March. We race at nighttime, not in the day, and we have more downforce than we've had in a few years. So these drivers are going to be learning a lot about white-knuckling around this place.
A lot of excitement, and speaking of exciting wins, Scott McLaughlin knows what that feels like as of a couple of weeks ago in St. Petersburg, Florida. Are you ready for the 2022 NTT IndyCar season? McLaughlin leads them to green. He is now an IndyCar race winner.
Nice job. You're a freaking legend. We won. Oh my God, boys, we won.
Oh, I can't believe it.
Well, what a start to the season for Scott McLaughlin. Can make it 2 for 2 today. So what's the confidence level that you could do that after practice yesterday?
Look, we have a great car in qualifying. Obviously, the qualified P2 and the XPEL Chevy, but for me right now, the race trim is what's really making me excited. So we'll see. It's a bit gustier today with the winds, but you know, I'm really excited. Hopefully, we can go 2 from 2, and the best part of that, it will be the 600th win for Team Penske. So.
Yeah, that would be pretty big, wouldn't it? The other good thing about winning the first race of the year, $10,000 to your favorite charity, thanks to People Ready Force for Good Challenge. And if you win at an oval and then also at a road course later this year, you can win $1 million. 500 for you, 500 for a charity.
Hey, look, you have to thank People Ready. They sponsor a car in here. They obviously want their guy to win, but to put it up for other teams to win and go to a great cause. Mine's Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, and you know it's a close you know, family thing for us, close ties to that charity. So you know, I'm really excited for having that opportunity, but just super blessed just to be able to be out on the stage and go for the win.
Tell you what, Kevin, you walk around the paddock this morning, a lot of people saying Scott McLaughlin could be the guy to beat and go 2 for 2 to start the season.
And I'm not sure for the opener at St. Pete, a lot of people, other than maybe our Lee Diffie, were picking Scott McLaughlin to win that race. And not a lot of people were picking Felix Rosenqvist climbing into his number 7 Arrow McLaren SP Chevrolet right now to win the pole yesterday, especially after his debut season last year. Frankly, went miserable after coming over from Ganassi. They were never in contention. And there's already conversation building that he's going to have to step it up, and boy did he yesterday. He said, I've had confidence, but at some point you just have to put the demons aside, get out there and do the job, and what a job he did. And he's confident that they have a race car that can stay up front all day, Lee.
Kev, there was a real feel-good factor for Felix Rosenqvist. A lot of people genuinely pleased to see him get his 2nd career pole position. He will lead this 27-car field to green here in a few moments. One driver who will not be in the field, unfortunately, after not being cleared by IndyCar Medical, is British driver Jack Harvey. And Hinch, this is the reason why it was a brutal crash yesterday in practice.
About halfway through second practice, a little bit high off a 2, clipped the wall with the right rear, it bent the suspension and just fired that car to the inside wall. A massive impact. Jack out and about, but not medically cleared to race. Very unfortunate. He will not see the green flag today.
Luckily for the team, however, Santino Ferrucci is going to be filling in today for Jack Harvey. He lives here in the Dallas area, has driven for the Rahal Letterman team previously in the last couple of seasons. And Santino Ferrucci, ironically, is recovering from a big crash he had at the Chili Bowl just back in January, less than 2 months ago. That's Ferrucci in the blue and white car, bicycles going into turn 3. Huge catapulting cartwheel, comes down heavy on his lid, was out for the Chili Bowl due to concussion, now is recovered, back here filling in on a moment's notice for Jack Harvey. That was a spectacular ride at the Chili Bowl, and Santino got a few laps to bed himself in this morning. He's ready to go.
People wonder why they always drivers take their helmets and hands devices with them wherever they go. You never know what might happen, and it's come Santino Ferrucci's way. All right, Ferrucci has experience here. There are 7 drivers who do not have any IndyCar race experience here at Texas Motor Speedway. One of them just happens to be a 7-time NASCAR Cup Series champ and a 7-time winner here, most notably Jimmy Johnson.
And Jimmy Johnson has a ton of laps around Texas Motor Speedway, but I'll be curious to watch what happens at all of the micro intersections of decision making where your head is telling you one thing but your heart is telling you another. How much does his heart overcome his head? Because there's lots of sketchy situations. He has to decide how big is he going to go, how much chance is he going to take today at Texas.
And each one of these rookies have had a decent amount of practice time to get up to speed, but Townsend, as you know, once you get into these race situations, there is so much to learn. There are things they're going to experience that they did not have in practice. It's going to be a wild and very steep learning curve for all 7 of these drivers with varying levels of experience in other cars.
And to Hinch's point, of those 7 drivers, some true rookies, some rookies in IndyCars here at Texas, but they're all first-timers at this 1.5-mile speedway. Hey, a quick reminder, throughout the Indy season, you can grab your mobile device, scan the QR code that you now see on your screen for a chance to win $25,000 at highvdeals.com. It's simple. Scan the QR code and register to win. And we want to say thanks to our friends at Hy-Vee. All right, we've got a question to ask today, and that is, which of the rookies will finish the highest? So a few weeks ago at St. Pete, it was the Rahal Letterman-Lanigan driver, Christian Lundgaard, who was the highest. Who do you think?
Honestly, after we watched practice yesterday, Devlin DiFrancesco in that number 29 Honda for Andretti Autosport was making some incredible moves, had some incredible saves. He's got the bravery. I think he's going to come out on top of the rookies.
You know, I think Jimmy Johnson has a great car, and the question is, can he learn in the first few stints and put it to good use? But I'll pick Jimmy Johnson just based on a ton of experience and a great Chip Ganassi racing setup.
That is the Pick'em game on the NBC Sports Predictor app, where you can win up to $25,000. Look forward to that, and we look forward to going racing here in Texas when we come back. Yes, No Limits Texas, and you'll see No Limits today, that's for sure. But first, they've got to get fired up, so let's go trackside for the command.
Race fans, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Here to give the command, please welcome today's Grand Marshals, XPEL authorized dealers, Sunset Tinting from Houston, Texas.
On behalf of XPEL and all you great race fans, drivers, start your engine!
We love this moment because it's the line in the sand when all of the talk, all of the preparation, all of the speculation goes out the door. The engines are fired, and now it's time to get serious. It is race time here in Texas, and let's take you to the XPEL starting grid to show you who is starting where for the second time in his IndyCar career. Felix Rosenqvist of Arrow McLaren SP on the pole alongside the championship leader who finished in that very position in second in his first race ever here at Texas last year.
And how about Takuma Sato for Dale Coyne Racing with Rick Ware inside row 2, qualifies third ahead of Will Power. Those Team Penske cars, McLaughlin and Power, look very good in race trim.
Got Pato O'Ward coming off a win here last year, his first win in the IndyCar Series, starting 10th. Definitely look for him to move the way up. We've seen those McLaren cars are fast, obviously, with his teammates starting on pole.
Looking further back, we've heard a lot of talk about how strong Alexander Rossi might be towards the end of the stint. He could very much use a big race result today. Grosjean, his teammate, making his first ever start at Texas Motor Speedway.
And at the back, we spoke about this a lot yesterday, James. Uncharacteristically, the Rahal Letterman-Lanigan cars just had no qualifying pace.
I spoke to Graham Rahal after the end of the day yesterday, and he kind of revealed something interesting. He said that they had gone across the team with a slightly different aero configuration. Their simulation numbers thought that this would be the fastest way, but after looking at all the other cars, all the other Honda cars on the track, they thought, we're the only ones doing it this way. They reverted after qualifying for practice 2. They think they may have found a little bit of speed across all of those cars, but interesting to see how the different approach actually did not pay out for them in qualifying.
All right, time for one last quick chat before we get going. Let's kick things off with Kevin Lee. Kevo?
Lee, this is the only oval before the Indianapolis 500 coming up in just over 2 months, when Helio Castroneves will try to become the first 5-time winner, as we ride on his AutoNation onboard in just a moment. And he's also looking for a 5th win here in his first oval race other than the 500 in 5 years. And he told me a few minutes ago, when I got in the car, it was, whoa, this is too fast here. But then quickly muscle memory kicks in. It's all fine. He feels he can be a factor here today and help get ready for the Indy 500. Now to Marty Snyder.
Kevin, we've joked in the past that they should rename Texas Motor Speedway Scott Dixon Speedway. He has won at this racetrack 5 times. I talked to him a moment ago. I said, what's been the key for you at Texas? He said, honestly, being conservative, which kind of surprised me. He said, you know, my whole goal since I first started here at Texas, just to survive until about 50 to go, and then that's when I get aggressive, and you will have to be aggressive. He also pointed out the wind today. He said that's going to be a big factor. He said, I think that's going to cause more passing, especially down in turns 1 and 2. Nobody, Diff, knows this place better than Scott Dixon, trying for his 6th win here in the Lone Star State.
Well, there's always something special about a racetrack where you've had success, but there's something even more special about Victory Lane. Scott just loves it. Will he be there at the end of this 248-lap race, racing much earlier in the year than normal? Really comfortable temperatures at 71 degrees ambient. So that's comfortable not only for the drivers, for the tires, for the teams and everybody, and an early start in the day as well. So let's talk more about this speedway here at Texas Motor Speedway with the Honda track preview, fellas.
On board here with Alex Palou, the 2021 IndyCar champion. He has really settled in terrifically on the ovals, James. He comes across the tri-oval. This is considered the front stretch, but it's anything but straight. You've got 2 kinks, you've got the grass down low, and we've seen historically times when IndyCars get pushed onto that grass, which is no bueno for the handling, that's for sure.
It's usually not the ideal line, Townsend, but it does happen. It's going to happen. Those little kinks in that straightaway, the dog legs we call them, they look like not much, but at 220 miles an hour side by side with other cars, it can get very tight and very racy there.
Felix Rosenquist in the papaya orange and light blue car on your right, the Arrow McLaren SP Chevy, the Views machine. He has never led a field to green on an oval. His only other career pole position was at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in the Indy Road Course event at the Grand Prix. He's got the championship leader on his outside. And McLaughlin told me earlier today, I've just got to get through the start and then settle into a rhythm. This is the XPEL 375. Somebody's gone early up the back there, big time. And Felix Rosenquist leads the field to green. It was one of the Maya Shank cars that went a little early. It was Helio Castroneves.
I think that might have been Alexander Rossi looking for a big jump. Meanwhile, everybody's going to try to fight to get to the low line. Look at him down the back straightaway. Juking and jiving, trying to get to that low line where all the grip is.
Big defensive move from the pole sitter, Felix Rosenquist, into turn 3 to keep Scott McLaughlin behind him. But McLaughlin in that number 3 machine right on his gearbox. Great run off of turn 4, and he's going to try to make the outside move into 1.
He does. McLaughlin to the lead, the championship leader out front.
He told Marty Snyder just a few minutes ago, I feel even better about my race car than my qualifying car. He's proven it here. Colton Herta all over the back of, I think that's Joseph Newgard.
It is.
And there's a new rule this year, that white line on the back straightaway, that drivers have to essentially think of that as a wall. If you go down there to make a pass, you will be penalized. If you force a driver down there, trying to prevent a pass, you will also be penalized. So Colton Herta getting out of the throttle there to make sure he didn't go below that white line. Heads up driving his Will Power defense now into turn 3.
That's Helio Castroneves all over him, and Takuma Sato, the 2-time Indy 500 winner, is pressuring the Brazilian.
Here comes Sato. Sato has a run in that white and purple Dale Coyne car. Great qualifying position. Sato to the high side.
And Colton Herta just whipped around the outside of Scott Dixon in that yellow and black Gainbridge Honda.
And that's the move we're going to be seeing all day long. A pass on the front stretch, and then the passing driver trying to cut down to the low line as aggressively and early as possible to find the groove where the grip is.
Let's watch this setup right here as Colton Herta gets the run on Castroneves. Nice and wide entry. Can he stick it? Yes, Castroneves backs out.
That's 3 passes in 2 laps. There is nobody at the front of this field moving like Colton Herta.
He is pushing hard.
Guys, I think we've seen more passes on track already today in the first 5 laps than we did most of last season. This is definitely working.
5 laps in, and I think you'll see a 3-stop strategy having drivers pit around lap 62 if they can get that far. All of this high-speed action on high-banked oval is going to lead to a lot of aggressive tire wear. So that's the question. They're racy at the start here, James, but we want to find out what happens when the tires start to wear. How much can they hang on to their cars?
No doubt. Throughout practice, nobody ran a set of tires to 60-plus laps. We see Pottsville Ward now trying to size up Romain Grosjean, and being able to take care of these Firestone tires over a stint is going to be absolutely key. Fuel is the other side of that. We have to be able to make it to 62 laps on fuel, which if you're running out front in clean air, you're using more throttle, it's a little bit harder to do. Marty Snyder.
Pato making passes on the track. As you look at a pass further back, I believe that's Alexander Rossi going around Grosjean as well. So Pato started 10th, immediately went back to 14th. He was very upset on the radio, Kevin said. About 5 guys jumped the start. Please call that into IndyCar.
Well, as you noted, Alexander Rossi is quick right now, but he is majorly concerned. Someone really trying to jumpstart his season after 2 winless seasons. Alarms are going off in the car, alternator issues. He said, what do we do? Right now we have no fix, so it's just hoping everything lasts okay.
So note from race control, start is under review, and in particular this guy here, Alexander Rossi in the Napa Auto Nation Honda for Andretti Autosport, and they have determined that Rossi jumped the start. Let's have a look at it.
Well, it looked pretty obvious from where we were sitting. Now, the rule in IndyCar on the start, you're not allowed to advance the row in front of you.
You're not even allowed,
you're not allowed to pop in your column even.
You're not allowed to break out of the column, yeah. And the problem here is we've seen several times in the last few years stack-ups on these oval races on the start. Alexander Rossi has been a victim of that here last year, Gateway 2 years ago, so he was probably being extra cautious, trying to avoid getting into the back of Pottsville Ward. Excuse me. But unfortunately, it's led to a penalty for him. It's going to be giving up track position. Luckily, it's not going to be a drive-through penalty.
And we just heard that he already has given those positions back. So
and that is a huge break because there are different levels of penalty. Maybe not. Maybe he has to do a drive-through here, James, because he's on the apron going slow. Is he just letting up positions, or is he going to the tail end of the lap?
That car's going very slowly.
He's not even on the limiter.
He's not even.
Are you kidding me?
He's on the wrong part of the racetrack. That car is creeping.
Talk about going from bad to worse.
Probably gonna get a yellow. We're middle of the back stretch, barely gone.
Yellow's out.
Alexander Rossi cannot seem to catch a break. He told us leading into the season opener at St. Pete, if a few things could go this way or that, my whole season would look different. And I know there's a lot of drivers who could say that, but this guy who is a regular championship contender has seen the last couple of seasons just evaporate, and there is no luck happening right now. Yes, he did the wrong thing by jumping the start, but he addressed that, but now something is wrong with his machine. You're watching IndyCar racing here on NBC, and we're under caution early on in the XPEL 375 due to an ailing Alexander Rossi's machine. That's being addressed in pit lane. We'll update you on that in just a moment. But first, the American Legion announced this week that it has expanded its role in the sport and is now an official charity of IndyCar. Each week, there'll be a traditional flag raising and lowering ceremony. This weekend, Jimmy Johnson joined race fans and American Legion members for the patriotic moment in the Midway at Texas Motor Speedway. To learn more, you can visit legion.org. So we heard a radio transmission to Alexander Rossi that the Andretti Autosport team are going to replace a battery, but it looks more terminal than that, and that is an extremely frustrated Alexander Rossi. He can't believe his lack of luck or fortune. Just nothing is going right for the driver of the 27 at the moment. Finished 19th in the season opener, and here he is out of the Texas Motor Speedway XPEL 375. It's the XPEL Chevrolet that leads the way to the green flag, Scott McLaughlin. But keep your eye on the car, fourth in line. Colton Herta, that yellow and black Cambridge Honda, he's been flying.
And side by side, Marcus Ericsson making the highline work. Looks like Rinus VK as well, trying to go around Joseph Newgarden there. Almost makes it stick, but very racy back further in the field.
Looks like Pato Award up where nobody seemed to want to run so far in practice unless they were forced to. And it looks like that gripped up pretty well. Now it's early in the race and the dust from the tires can build up offline, but he's having no trouble running side by side right now. Big moves out of the black and orange McLaren.
2 in a row for Pato O'Ward. He's not holding back for anybody and proving you can go high. There is a second lane.
Now remember, we had this extra special practice session yesterday to try to run in the high line, and Pato was one of 7 cars that took place in that practice. So he's got way more experience running up there, maybe a little bit more comfortable earlier in this race as he sizes up Marcus Ericsson in the Husky Chocolates car.
Look out, look out.
Inside.
Now,
Clear plus.
if you're in front of Pato O'Ward right now and you see him charging in the mirrors, the key now is to move yourself up a little bit if you're the inside car. Start driving, Marty, 5-10 feet off the white line. Force Pato even further up into no man's land.
Man, he is making that second groove work, trying to make it work every lap. And when he won here last year, his first career IndyCar win, he made some bold moves in that race car, making some incredible passes. Hinch, I would love for you to describe to fans at home what is like. It is just so sketchy to run that second line here in Texas at 220 plus miles an hour.
If being in lane 1 is like driving on the pavement in a road car, being in lane 2 is like driving in snow on a road car. There's that much of a grip difference. It's crazy how light the car can get, but on a restart, you're not going as fast. You're still getting up to speed. You can kind of take that advantage of that high line, that clear air on the front wing to give you that extra downforce and that extra grip, and that's what Pato was doing to great effect. It's going to be harder as these cars get up to speed more and as those tires heat up and start to wear. But Felix Rosenqvist now, his teammate, is tracking down Scott McLaughlin, but unable to separate from Takuma Sato either.
Diff, you and I are pointing at each other, looking further back at that black and white AJ Foyt Racing, the number 14 of Kyle Kirkwood, the American rookie. He pitted under the caution and must have passed a ton of cars because he's already back up to 11th. What a great oval debut for Kyle Kirkwood. Kevin.
Well, Alexander Rossi's bad luck continues, out of the car already. I heard alarm issues. What ended your day?
I don't think we know. It was something electrical, so we were losing battery voltage from really the start of the race. And it was cutting power kind of at both ends of the track, and it got just exponentially worse until the battery just died. So here we are.
Here we are, yet again, talking to you in the first few laps of a race. What do you make of the luck that you've had here in the last couple of years?
Well, at least we saw the green flag, so that's cool. I mean, it's at this point, like, what do you say? It is what it is. I think the car was amazing. I think the Napa Auto Nation boys did a wonderful job. Like all weekend, it's been really nice to drive. The green flag call was a little bit ambitious, so we had that penalty, but we were giving the spots back anyways through the engine cutting. But it's a shame because I think the car was fast. I think it was a really good car. I think we had a good idea of how we were going to go forward in the race, and to not get that opportunity it's pretty sad.
Thanks, Alex. Sorry.
Alexander Rossi's day is done, and you have to look big picture wise. Now everybody knows what Scott McLaughlin is capable of. The guy who led 49 of the 100 laps in St. Pete has led all 25 laps today. He's sustaining pressure from Rosenqvist, but have a look in the background, fellas. Here comes the 2-time Indy 500 winner, Takuma Sato.
No doubt he was the surprise of qualifying. That Dale Coyne Racing entry with Whit Rare got up there and was just unbelievable for the time of day that he did it. He did an incredible job to get that 2-lap average to start that car third, and he's hanging with this top pair. This is a potentially great result on the cards for Takuma.
And there were so many questions after last season when Romain Grosjean and his engineer Olivier Busson left to go to Andretti Autosport, that Dale Coyne Racing would be left without a lot of the brain trust that they've had the last several seasons. But Sato and his group have answered that doubt definitively, that they'll be just fine. The cars are just as fast.
And it might be hey, it's early days, I know that. But it might be a celebratory day because it is his 200th NTT IndyCar Series start. So that would be a nice coincidence and a nice moment. Looking a little further back in this field, so encouraging to see that high line working for Pato O'Ward, who's now in 8th position right behind Scott Dixon.
And then Kyle Kirkwood up into the top 10 now. This is an incredible run. The AJ Foyt Racing cars had almost no speed in qualifying, all 3 of their entries right near the back of the grid, but this young rookie is showing he is not a rookie as some of them might think. because running, oh, look at that wiggle on board with Christian Lundgaard, another rookie there. That's the kind of thing from inside the car. That was a heart in your throat moment, had to get out of the throttle, and that's what's allowing Jimmy Johnson now to try to work the high line of 3 and 4 side by side, guys. This is like Old Texas.
Absolutely. Jimmy Johnson working it through 3 and 4, looking pretty confident behind the wheel. He'll get cleared by his spotter, back down where it feels nice and comfy on the low line.
And Townsend, as these tires start to wear, I think that's what we're going to see a lot of. When the stints are new and the tires are new, we're going to see guys racing, making aggressive moves, but as the tires wear, it's going to be harder to pull off an honest pass. It's going to be capitalizing on other guys' mistakes.
And I know Jimmy Johnson doesn't have any IndyCar oval experience prior to just the test and a run at Indy coming in here, but what he does have, I think, is incredible feel. It's the nuances in NASCAR that led to so much success. It's the ability to understand what the trajectory of tire wear is going to feel like, that seat of the pants talent. This, I think, is his best chance today in his young IndyCar career to produce a result.
So we got a quick replay here with Connor Daly and David Malukas. This is heading down the back straight into turn 3. Malukas up on the high side, one of the rookies. You can see he's getting into that darker pavement, but big wiggle. My goodness, Townsend. Wow. And look at how little gap he has to Connor. He barely lifted, but see how much Christian Lundgaard catches up. That's what I'm talking about, these little mistakes, that moment. I cannot tell you how much he is catching his breath right now. That was a massive save.
That was a crash. He just didn't hit anything.
It was a crash that didn't happen. David Malukas in the Dale Coyne Racing Honda. Great save. Another rookie just a couple of positions further up. Devlin DeFrancesco had one of those yesterday as well in final practice. So the youngsters aren't afraid to have a go.
But this is what I love about rookies. A massive moment that would have a lot of us in our mid-40s rethinking life for weeks. And Malukas is right back in under the gearbox of Connor Daly having another go.
Barely lost 2 car lengths. Just incredible. And he's right in his wheel tracks there. But again, it's, you know, kind of going back to Jimmy Johnson, it's about patience. That's what he knows from his years of NASCAR races, long 500-mile races. That's such an important thing in this race here in Texas as these cars start getting into line. Marty, what do you have?
How about the move for Kyle Kirkwood? You guys have talked about it. He restarted 23rd, came up through the field, got into the top 10 in about 4 laps, and those 4 fresh Firestones helped a ton. Look at some of these moves this rookie is making on the racetrack and passing drivers like Joseph Newgarden, the 2-time champ, Simon Pagenaud, Indy 500 winner, and also Alex Palou, last year's champion as well. So the rookie making some moves, and Townsend, I think everyone up and down pit road all saw that. Fresh Firestones are going to make a difference today.
I'm watching it here, Marty. On board with Alex Palou, last year's champion, and Kyle Kirkwood is showing the kind of stuff that we saw out of Nigel Mansell as a rookie, Juan Pablo Montoya. This is special.
And part of what makes these moves work early is when we were on board with Alex Palou there, you saw Alex had cars directly in front of him. He's in that dirty air. He's having to go slow, whereas Kyle Kirkwood up on that second lane, he's got all this clean air hitting the front of his car. It gives him a little bit more downforce, a little bit more confidence to run that high line and carry that speed, but amazing progress from this rookie.
Scott McLaughlin continues to lead the way by less than 0.3 of a second. It is tight at the top, and Sato runs third. 204 laps left to run here at Texas Motor Speedway in the XPEL 375 as we welcome you back to our live IndyCar coverage here on NBC. Our drivers are racing today and throughout the season, not only for poles and points, but for big money as part of the People Ready Force for Good Challenge. Now, the first entry to win at least once this season on each of the 3 types of tracks in the series, of course, road course, street course, and ovals, will win $1 million to be shared with a charity of that driver's choice. Fans can follow along here on NBC and at forceforgoodchallenge.com. Lee Diffie along with Townsend Bell, James Hinchcliffe, Marty Snyder, Kevin Lee with you here on a beautiful day in Texas, and it has been stunning for Scott McLaughlin, who's led all 46 laps. A little further back in the pack, it is getting a little tougher for the likes of David Malukas, Jimmy Johnson, Graham Rahal in the Fleet Costin Care Honda. He started in 27th and final position. He's trying to work his way through, Kevin Lee.
For Jimmy Johnson, yes, he was in IndyCar last year, but the original plan was no ovals. After working with us last year, he said, I got to do the Indy 500 and all the ovals, and he came in with more confidence and excitement than he had for any other race, but he was also still very realistic. He had not driven in traffic before, so it's all about learning today. Let's listen to some 48 radio.
Tell us about the car. Comes off the line a little bit sooner.
A little understeer in the center. A little understeer
We're going to make a pressure adjustment here, Jimmy, to help that.
Blair Julian, Scott Pruitt, Eric Cowden on the radio with Jimmy Johnson. It's just stay on the lead lap for a while, run all the laps, and he'll be much more prepared for the Indy 500 in 2 months.
Pretty cool that in his first oval race, he's talking understeer, not push.
Yeah, he's not saying it's tight.
This is interesting, though. Look at Graham Rahal using the high line for clean air. So Graham is really finding great effect there. Look at that. Getting clean air like you talked about on his front wing, and there goes the pass on Jimmy Johnson. David Malukas, the next car up the road.
He gets that clean air on the front wing, gives him the extra downforce, and that high line actually allows you to roll a little more top speed. It's a longer distance, but you can roll a little bit more speed. So it definitely helped him coming off of 4 there to clear Jimmy Johnson. Marty.
Hey, Hinch, we have not seen the dramatic move from Graham Rahal like we saw from Kyle Kirkwood, but he has been making his way up through the field with those fresher Firestones. He pitted at lap 14, and he was one of those guys who did that late session yesterday, working in that high groove, and he told me, I think that groove in 3 and 4 will work. It's bumpy, but it will work. Pit stops for everyone else coming up in about 10 laps, and a lot of the front guys saying they are seeing a dramatic shift. All of a sudden, tires really falling off at the end of this run.
And one thing about driving around on a green racetrack, and by that I mean not a lot of Firestone rubber has gone down on the track yet, Townsend. We have only had a couple hours of practice, so the tires are going to wear more in this first stint. They're going to wear faster, they're going to wear more aggressively as the race runs, and you have 26, 27 cars laying down Firestone rubber. That's going to adhere to the track, it's going to adhere to the tires a little bit better, and the tires should last longer. So this is going to be the most challenging stint.
Whoa, Graham Rahal way up in the gray near the fence.
I guess it finally bit him going up there.
His young teammate, the 20-year-old Christian Lundgaard, skipped through. There is the 11 of J.R. Hildebrand, who's doing all the ovals for AJ Foyt Racing in place of Tatiana Calderon. He skips through. Let's have a look what happened to Graham Rahal.
Oh, wow, you see Rinus VeeKay moving incredibly slow there in the second lane. Graham Rahal had already committed to being high on David Malukas and had nowhere to go.
You can see the rear end of Rinus VeeKay dancing around. He is hanging on for dear life out there, just trying to get to the pit window. And Graham, to your point, went way higher than he had been going. Look at Jimmy Johnson thinking, oh, this is awesome. And then Jimmy Johnson had to check up. Here comes VeeKay to pit lane, which takes him out of a 3-stop strategy, Marty. Most likely puts them on a 4-stopper.
Well, I think what they're hoping for, Townsend, is some caution later in this race, because a rider on the very, very early edge of maybe being able to do it in 3 stops, so they would need a lot of caution. VeeKay saying that car, absolute handful. We saw that in the replay a moment ago. Way too much understeer in that 21, but yes, very early in this window, pitting for Rinus VeeKay.
VeeKay, who's really got into the swing of things here in Texas this weekend. He's been walking around with a pair of red cowboy boots and a black cowboy hat and just loving it.
Well, he's going to need some of that cowboy hat to ride the bull. The way that car was handling is going to need a lot of help to pick up the pace towards the end of the stint. Meanwhile, you see Takuma Sato's past Felix Rosenqvist for second. This is Marcus Ericsson coming to pit lane a little early, Marley.
So this is what we'll see, Townsend, with everyone putting on fresh Firestones. It's going to kind of open up the gates, if you will. I know this is early in the window and earlier than everyone else wanted to come, Kevin, but they can come down pit road like Marcus Ericsson here, get those fresh Firestones on, and maybe gain some lap time.
Joseph Newgarden told me before the race, I think we're pretty good. I'm also not sure whether it's a 3 or a 4 stopper, and he's kind of right in between. He's probably going to need a little bit of yellow to be able to make it on 2 more stops, but they still have open options after his first stop, Marty.
Scott McLaughlin, who has led 56 laps so far in this race, so the 57 run, brings his number 3 car to pit road. The first stall here on pit road as well. He said the handling drastically changed when he got out front. You saw that huge wing adjustment they made on the 3 right there. So the car was too free, and this wind is becoming a factor, Townsend. They are really talking about how the wind is playing havoc with the race cars on the track, Kevin.
Felix Rosenqvist has been in position to run up front, get a result the last couple of years, but circumstances have kept him from that. He started from pole today, just lost a spot, still running 3rd. The team just told him, you're doing great, you're doing everything we need to do. He's still in a position, getting a couple more laps to be able to do it on 2 more stops, half a turn of front wing. Felix Rosenqvist is back out.
And that pole position that he won yesterday really boosted the McLaren organization on the Formula One side in Bahrain. Was not a great qualifying day for them yesterday. Here is last year's winner in the doubleheader. Here comes Pato O'Ward. He's coming your way, Marty.
Well, if bravery is an award, an award today, Pato O'Ward certainly wins that so far. He's been willing to make some crazy passes out there. Car with a little bit too much understeer for Pato. Also the people-ready car on pit road as well. Christian Lundgaard having a very nice run so far, a solid run. When I talked to Christian yesterday, he said, listen, if I can complete all the laps in this race, that will make me happy. 248 laps, that's his goal today.
20-year-old Danish driver said, it was some scary times here at Texas Motor Speedway. It got my attention when I got into traffic. Here's Romain Grosjean in the DHL Honda.
Yeah, Romain Grosjean having a very nice run. Remember, he ran St. Louis last year. As you saw Connor Daly leaving his pit stall. He said, Texas, a completely different world versus Gateway, which he ran last year. He said, I've had to learn a lot. He said, the one thing I don't like, how bumpy this racetrack is. That's something I am not used to from my F1 days.
He's going to hate Iowa if he thinks Texas is bumpy, but this is really building up to be an interesting pit cycle here, Townsend. A lot of these drivers not just not making 62. Remember, we had 4 laps of caution, so a lot of these drivers well below that 3-stop threshold, definitely hoping for yellow, and now we've got this mix of old tires and new tires. On an old set of tires, you're doing 202s, 204s. Kevin Lee, what do you have?
Well, Takuma Sato just got blocked getting into his pit stall. I think David Malukas was too far forward. He had to stop and wait, so he lost a good 3-4 seconds. But what a first stint it was for the 2-time Indy 500 winner. He told me, I don't know if we can make it past 50 laps. Well, he went a few laps later than almost everyone else. Sato is back out, but lost precious time on the track with the pit stop issue.
Yeah, let's see where he cycles back in comparison to McLaughlin. Oh, no. That is huge.
So it looks like David Malukas stalled leaving his box, and that just stopped right in the front of Takuma Sato and the Dale Coyne team. That is just terrible luck. Nothing that Takuma could have done there, but a 13.7 second stop. That is very, very long. That's going to cost him a tremendous amount of track position.
But he has a fast race car. He made a smart decision to not try to force anything and just wait. That could pay off later on.
So the 87-year-old legend, AJ Foyt, Supertex, is here today in his home state watching his new kid, Kyle Kirkwood, lead this race. It's a showcase of the immortals on the grandest stage of them all. Don't miss the most stupendous 2-night WrestleMania in history, live from AT&T Stadium right here in Texas, and streaming April 2nd and 3rd only on Peacock. Go to peacocktv.com to sign up now. Do you know your wrestling? That is Rey Mysterio, who won the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 22 with the legend Mario Andretti. Mario got to take him for the IndyCar 2-seater ride, and he loved it. That guy's not afraid of much. I wonder if he was afraid back there. He was playing around a little bit. Anyway, good stuff. Welcome back. Scott McLaughlin has resumed the lead of this race on pit stop rotation and cycle. It's got the XPEL Chevy back up there. Now the teammates from Arrow McLaren SP are fighting it out. This is Pato O'Ward, Felix Rosenqvist fighting over 3rd place.
And that's a big jump from Pato O'Ward in that pit cycle. They pit only 1 lap apart. Joseph Newgarden, he was on lap 56 comparing to people like Colton Herta who made it to 62. When they would have come out of the pits on that fresh rubber, they could have laid down some really fast times as Colton was struggling, and that was part of what helped him jump up. But these two almost put at the same time.
And if you've watched the last couple seasons of IndyCars, Colton Herta goes around Takuma Sato there. If you've watched the last couple seasons, you know that Pato O'Ward is super comfortable with a really twitchy race car. He's got incredibly fast hands. It's no surprise he loves to box as a workout. And for Pato O'Ward, the in-laps and out-laps here at Texas, especially the in-lap on the apron, when the car is skating around on that low line with no banking, I think he's right at home. I'm guessing that's where the advantage came.
I think that was Colton Herta going around Ed Carpenter in the Alzamend Chevy. Ed is in the number 33, not in the 20. By the way, speaking of the 20, Connor Daly has been penalized for pit lane speed violation. Speaking of speed, this guy here is on a mission. Colton Herta in the Gainbridge Honda is one to watch. He was able to clear Marcus Ericsson, get by the lapped car of Carpenter, and he is on a mission. He's after Rosenqvist and the Arrow McLaren teammate in Pato O'Ward.
And one of the things that we saw in practice, Lee, was the Andretti Autosport cars very good over a stint. They maybe weren't the quickest in qualifying over a lap, 2-lap average, but they seem to take care of their tires and keep that lap speed up. So they've got a nice, healthy balance on that race car. They're taking care of those Firestones. And these Andretti Autosport cars, especially the 26 here of Colton Herta, really, really looking forward to these longer stints.
Look at how close this was. Marcus Ericsson and Colton Herta. There's a little earlier look coming across the front straightaway. Colton going high. And at this point, if you're Colton, you're trying to stay low. You don't want to get up on any of that darker black section where the historic traction compound was laid down. So watch this. This is what it looks like for Colton Herta. Right here, you're trying to thread the needle between that black section high and the red and white car of Marcus Ericsson down low. And that was a little too close, even for the comfort of Colton Herta, one of the bravest guys out there.
And if you're Marcus Ericsson, you know he's there. You know he doesn't want to go on that compound, so you turn in a little bit later and don't give him the opportunity to stay on that good part of the racetrack.
That's the Swedish fade.
So, while you see two team cars here, it's two team cars up front, but a big margin, a big advantage to Scott McLaughlin. 12 seconds over his teammate in the PPG Chevy, Joseph Newgarden, who's done really good work on pit stop rotation, stopped 1 lap prior to McLaughlin, and he's been able to leapfrog his way up into second place. So Team Penske 1-2, Arrow McLaren SP 3-4.
So check this out. We've been crunching the numbers on that green flag stop between teammates Pato O'Ward and Felix Rosenqvist. This is what it looked like. In lap, Pato O'Ward almost a second faster from start finish to pit in. 2.5 seconds faster was Rosenqvist on pit lane, but look at the time in the pit box. Pato O'Ward just crushed it. The number 5 boys did a great job, and that's what led to a 2-second advantage on a green flag stop, and at 215 miles an hour, that's a lot of distance.
Exactly right. 2 seconds doesn't sound like a ton of time in the grand scheme of things as Felix Rosenqvist clears the lap car of J.R. Hildebrand. But these pit cycles are key, and that 2 seconds was huge. As you said, a lot of credit there to Pato for that in-lap, that 1 second there, but the number 5 crew in the box, a huge advantage to Pato in that sense.
And 3.5 seconds extra in the pit box. I'd suspect that something went wrong with Rosenqvist. Maybe they had a little trouble plugging the fuel, maybe it was tired, maybe they were trying to dial in some front wing.
Look out, look out. Here we go, you got Devlin DiFrancesco, the rookie from Andretti Autosport, leading this pack. Rahal around the outside of Jimmy Johnson. Sato growing impatient with the rookie, Lundgaard. Hold on.
But what's important to notice here is right in the back is the yellow car of Scott McLaughlin. That's your leader. He's come up on lap traffic now, and he has got to navigate this. None of these drivers have to move over. Scott's got to get by them on merit, and it's going to be a huge challenge with that many cars packed together.
Already cost him 2 seconds. Hinch now almost 3 seconds because he had almost 13 seconds over his teammate as Takuma Sato looks to work on his old teammate Graham Rahal. The race leader and championship leader, McLaughlin, here we take a ride with, is saying, how do I get by this?
And this is the first time that Scott's had to run in traffic. He got by Felix early on. He's been running out in clean air. The car's going to handle a certain way when it's running out front. It's going to handle a lot differently when it's running back in a pack of 3, 4, 5 cars. So Scott's going to be adjusting the tools in his car, the weight jacker, which can adjust the weight across the front axle, the anti-roll bars, which can adjust the stiffness across the front and rear axle. And he's trying to find the right balance to get this car feeling good in these conditions.
Oh, Joseph Newgarden's loving this because he's eating into McLaughlin's lead. We've got to go non-stop. You won't miss a thing. Back in a moment. NBC's coverage of IndyCar is brought to you by XPEL. Get the protection you need with XPEL paint protection film, ceramic, and window film. Honda, an official vehicle of the NTT IndyCar Series. Hy-Vee. Throughout race season, HyVeeDeals.com provides a chance to win $25,000. HyVeeDeals.com, proud sponsor of the number 45 car. And by NTT, official sponsor and technology partner of the NTT IndyCar Series. Great to have you with us, Lee Diffie. The Mayor of Hinchtown, James Hinchcliffe, Townsend Bell, Marty Snyder, Kevin Lee, on a gorgeous day here in the Lone Star State. 155 laps to go, and 82 laps of this race thus far have been led by Scott McLaughlin. However, he's got closer company from his teammate, Joseph Newgarden. Once had a 12+ second advantage. It's now down to 6.8.
But what's so interesting to see is we were focusing on Scott McLaughlin being stuck in that lap traffic. That onboard we just saw, no one in front of him. Townsend, he didn't pass a single car. He is backed off that pack. He knew he had a 12-second gap to his teammate in second place. He wants to take care of his tires. He doesn't want to risk his equipment. So a very heads-up strategy there to just back off and run around by yourself. We'll be right on board with Joseph Newgard now, and we got more with him down in the pits.
When a real flip, Joseph started 7th, but slipped back to 9th or 10th. And came in a couple of laps early, so obviously they had a good stop and good in and out laps, but really the car is much better as we ride on the PPG onboard. They discovered a cracked right front wheel, so that impacted performance a little bit. They pitted a couple of laps earlier than they wanted, and now the car is smooth. He's doing everything he needs to do to be able to stay within reach of McLaughlin, Marty.
Kevin, I think the other thing with Scott McLaughlin sort of backing off that pack earlier, as Hinch was mentioning, he wants to take care of those Firestone tires. When they came down pit road a moment ago and pulled those tires off, he had significant cording. That's his right front tire right there. And Alex Palou, last year's champion, the right rear, that was significant. I mean, I'm telling you, almost coming unwound for that Firestone. They had maybe 4 or 5 more laps to live on the racetrack. So Townsend, I'm just wondering, if you're a strategist and you see this, yes, it should get better as the race goes on. Does that maybe change what you're going to do for the rest of this race? As soon as your driver says, hey, I'm starting to lose the handle of this car, do you come to pit road?
Speaking of losing the handle, Takuma Sato in the 51, the Dale Coyne entry, wiggling all the way through 1 and 2, and still trying to hang on to it down the backstretch.
You're running into me. Yeah, I saw that.
Sato complaining. I think he said somebody ran into me. We will get a replay of that. The Nerdec OTT Honda is over and out. Devlin DiFrancesco, the Andretti rookie, was he involved? Yes. What happened between these two guys?
Well, DiFrancesco's just starting to slide up a little bit mid-corner. Sato doesn't want to have to go any higher than he already is into the dust, into the marbles. And unfortunately, he was just forced up there. But no fault of DiFrancesco's, really. I mean, you have to give a little room to that car down low in case they wash up. And in some cases, maybe they wash up a little bit more proactively. I mean, DiFrancesco, I think, was getting turbulent air from the car in front of him, James, that just slid up. That's a common issue here in Dallas.
Yeah, exactly right. Tough deal. But luckily, that didn't end up in a deal like Jack Harvey's, similar contact, but didn't go to the wall.
Second caution on the day here in the XPEL 375. Back in a moment. Chance for the field to catch its breath under the second caution of this race, which is going to make things pretty interesting. And Grosjean is furious in the cockpit of the DHL Honda. What's going on with the Frenchman? He's got an issue. Look at the smoke drifting out of the back of it.
Yeah, I can make it to the pit. 10-4.
Kevin Lee has more. Kev.
Pit stops underway. We'll keep an eye on Felix Rosenquist pitting from third. He lost a few on the in laps the last time. They got him back. He says the car is pretty good, just hanging onto the Firestones and challenging towards the end of the stint. Joseph Newgarden with a really good stop in and out right now. Marty, up to you.
The good thing about this caution, Kevin, comes out at a very good time. Scott McLaughlin wins the race off pit road. Now everybody on a very even playing field. Should be 2 more stops to the end of the race and an easy 50-lap run.
Massive loss on time on pit lane for Felix Rosenquist, though. However, Pato Award there in behind him, and here is Grosjean, and this is more than likely day done. What happened on that stop to the Arrow McLaren SP Chevys? We will find out and follow the Grosjean story too. NBC's coverage of IndyCar is brought to you by Hy-Vee, proud sponsor of Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing. Hy-Vee, making lives easier, healthier, and happier. Liberty Mutual Insurance, only pay for what you need. And by XPEL, get the protection you need with XPEL paint protection film, ceramic coatings, and window film. So, these IndyCar fans are witnessing a pretty good race today. A lot has happened, a lot's changing, and continues to, unfortunately, on the negative for Arrow McLaren SP. First up, Pato Award hits his front left tyre changer. And that's not all to go wrong with the team, because his teammate also had misfortune. Felix Rosenquist skids through the box, needs to be pushed back, and time just ticking away.
Rosenquist goes long. Now watch the right rear tire changer here. Right rear goes on, gun comes up, tightens the nut, struggling a bit, car drops. has to wave his hand, emergency mode off and on. Both Arrow McLaren IndyCars to the back of the pack on that pit stop. Total disaster given all the pace they've shown already, Marty.
The crew member for Pato Award was Norm Hordacek, and he is okay. I just talked to Kevin Blanche from IndyCar, and he said it tweaked his right knee a little bit. Norm is headed to the infield care center to get that looked at. You see him kind of limping back to the ambulance back here, but he should be fine. But we see this happen so many times here, James. Just something about Texas, you know, you don't use any brake on the racetrack at all. So when you come to pit road, it's hard to work those cold brakes in and get temperature to come to a stop in your pit stall.
Exactly right, Marty. You're going to do hundreds of laps of practice around here, but you're only going to do a handful of practice pit stops. As you say, you don't use the brakes on the racetrack, so knowing to warm them up, these cars, the way they're set up, they turn really well to the left, but not so good to the right. Townsend, as you know, it's tough to sneak the car into the pit boxes here, and it's so easy to do what both those guys did, but unforced errors from both drivers.
So guys, let's tell you about a man on the move who believes in don't ever be told you can't go to the front from the back. This is the Fleet Cost and Care Honda of Graham Rahal, who started dead last and never gives up. The winner here at Texas Motor Speedway a few years ago has gone from 27th to 11th.
He's looking very inspired on restarts, very inspired on that high lane. And Graham Rahal has a lot of experience. One of the best oval drivers these days in the series. Just has a lot of confidence, great spatial awareness, and is very aggressive when it counts.
And just consider, you know, we saw him when he had that moment with Rinus VeeKay go up into the grille there in turn 3 and 4. He lost a handful of spots, so he'd probably be even higher up if it wasn't for that little moment.
Yeah. Great race car. Wasn't a particularly fast qualifying car, but at this point, Graham Rahal showing if you've got a good race car, you can get to the front at Texas regardless of where you qualify. Let's see what's going on with our Snoop Cam. Let's listen into a little radio here.
So with this, everybody's on a 2-stopper. Right now, nobody can save to make it up 1. It's way too far out of the window. So what we're going to be doing here is we'll start in red 6 when we go, and we will go as hard as we want, and then we'll settle in just like you did the first spin.
That just exemplifies what a team sport this is. Guys, when you had the helmets on, did you enjoy that coaching to know what the full picture looked like?
Depending on who was on my radio. I had some guys where I just wanted to unplug it. I had some guys where I would be hanging on every single word. Let's head down to pit lane.
Matt Grosjean out of the car way earlier than you wanted. You just wanted all the laps today. What put you out?
Engine issue. We lost power. Tried to get a couple of power cycle on track, but looks like I don't know, a technical issue. So we need to look into it. Obviously, it's not great not to be scoring points today. Also, not great not to get the experience on track. But it's motor racing, and there's a motor, and today wasn't happy.
I know it wasn't what you wanted, but how were the 100 laps of experience you got at Texas Motor Speedway?
Yeah, pretty good. The car felt really good, but there's no way you can pass here, so it's very frustrating. You know, I wish we could use the second lane and get the momentum and cycle through the field, but you know, stayed out of trouble, learned quite a bit. There's still things I need to do better on ovals, definitively, but getting there.
Some good lessons learned for Romain today, and that is now 2 Andretti Autosport cars out of the race already.
A little frustration creeping in there, Hinch from Grosjean saying, I couldn't pass, but you can pass. We've seen that many, many times, just that he couldn't get those passes executed, but a lot learned in his first full IndyCar season.
For sure, and you know, first Speedway attempt, first super Speedway attempt here, and sitting up there with Michael Andretti, his team owner. Definitely a contentious issue here with reliability with this team. 2 of their cars already out. You know, you got to be a little bit worried, but yeah, Romain doing a great job. Still a bit to learn for sure.
So no fuel savings required at this point. You heard it from Kyle Moyer. It's going to be full rich, turn up the heat, and send it right now on this restart.
How about Scott Dixon and Will Power? They were 7th and 8th when the caution came out. They now run 3rd and 4th. It's a Penske 1, 2, 3 with McLaughlin, Newgard, and Power. Look at Power jump in that red and black Verizon Chevy, trying to get the leap on his teammate. Here comes Ericsson on his teammate in that red and white car, and Colton Herter in that second line on the high side, trying to go around the outside of Rinus VeeKay. Doesn't work.
Wow, 2 of the youngest and hardest charging drivers in the series side by side. Colton Herta in the yellow and black car has to back out in turn 3. Kyle Kirkwood and that black AJ Foyt. Kirkwood loses it. The 14's in the wall.
That amazing run has come to an end for the star rookie. And it's ended in spectacular style.
Yeah,
what a shame.
Sorry, guys.
You know, they put so much emphasis on trying to make moves on restarts. You know, you heard Kyle come on the radio saying, my fault, I'm sorry, guys. It's such an easy thing to do. There's so much emphasis. As Roman said, it was hard to pass, you know, during green flag running. You want to try to make those times up, those positions up on restarts. But, man, it's a tough break for the AJ Foyt driver.
Well, he wasn't afraid to have a go today. Unfortunately, it's ended in the wall.
He's up above Devlin DeFrancesco there, and yeah, he just has his right rear a little bit up in that darker track surface, not as much grip, and around it goes. You know, Townsend, at that point, you're really just a passenger.
And it's just crushing in this sport how you can go from, you know, 0 to 0 right there. We were making such a big deal out of how bold he was going to the high side on the last restart, making up all those positions, and unfortunately, the oldest rule in IndyCar racing holds true. There's two kinds of oval drivers, those that have crashed and those that will. I guess the only positive here is at least the learning comes early. There's a limit to how big and how brave you can be on a tough track like this.
So that's the last two cautions with cars trying to go around the outside of Devlin DeFrancesco.
So, interesting point. I think that might be a coincidence. I was just going to say, if you watch that replay, the cars in front of them were 2x2. So Devlin was in dirty air on the bottom. His car's naturally going to move up a little bit. And Kyle didn't have clean air in front of him, as we've seen with a lot of the drivers that have made that second lane work. He still had a car in front of him in that dirty air on that less desirable piece of racetrack. So it was a combination of things, I think, working against Kyle there. Rookie mistake. He'll definitely learn from this lesson, and he's going to come back strong. There's no doubt about it.
Definitely there was some confidence in going on the high line because he'd done it many times before. This time, it didn't work out. The world's biggest music event comes to NBC, a state versus state showdown to find America's next hit song. American Song Contest, Monday on NBC and next day on Peacock. Not sure if Jimmy Johnson can sing or not. Might have to ask Shani, his wife. But nonetheless, Carvana and Jimmy Johnson have teamed up for a digital series about his transition to IndyCar. He's running in a very good 13th at the moment. Here's a trailer of Reinventing the Wheel.
With Jimmy Johnson, exit of turn 7.
Watch the left-hand side there. This is an important lesson for Jimmy Johnson.
I ended the year where I thought I would have started it. There were many uncomfortable moments.
People were judging his performance, and they can kiss my ass because they don't know.
To have such a strong team around me that believe in me, I don't take that lightly.
This guy wants to do it, and I know he's got the work ethic for it. Just can't wait to get this season going.
This year's different. Not only am I going to drive the street races, but also the ovals.
Making the Indy 500 is huge. That's going to be extremely difficult.
Jimmy's the same guy today as he was when he was 4 years old on the track. That feeling of wanting to go fast and wanting to win, it doesn't leave.
In my head, it's always been about racing. It's been about the experience. And I really do just love to drive.
And Reinventing the Wheel, that series is available online. You saw the Hall of Famer, a good friend of ours, Ricky Johnson, RJ, speaking about Jimmy's known him since he was a kid. Jimmy Johnson wanted to be Ricky Johnson. He wanted to be a motocross and supercross star originally, and Ricky has been a big part, a big motivator, big mentor in Jimmy's life. So two guys who have reached the top of their sport. It's an interesting reflection point. Marty?
Been an eventful 30 minutes or so for Pato O'Ward after contact with a crew member on pit road. He had to start at the back. IndyCar penalized him for that, for making contact with a crew member, and then they had to come in and change the front wing on the 5 car. Pato now down a lap. The winner here at Texas last year going to have some work cut out if he's going to get back up front today, Kevin.
Marty, how about Santino Ferrucci, who found out he was racing at 9 o'clock this morning? First got a call last night. He lives in the area, so he was around. Hey, you might want to be on standby. The He came in this morning after Jack Harvey's big crash yesterday, and he was ruled out of this race. He needs to get cleared again. Ferrucci said, you know, I'm kind of used to this, doing Xfinity races the last couple of years. No practice. That's been standard operating procedure. He did get a few laps just to kind of shake down the car this morning. The last one was flat. He has picked up 12 spots from the start of this race. Still is on the lead lap.
And we told you at the top of the show, the last time this guy was in a car, it was at the Chili Bowl Nationals, and it ended not the way he wanted. Check this out. Doink. And a wild ride for Santino Ferrucci that took him a little while to recover from.
And that landing upside down square on the cage almost certainly is what led to the concussion that Santino suffered less than 2 months ago. But to Kevin's point, spectacular job. I mean, to get a call this morning, show up, hop in the race car, and not just show pretty well, he's on the lead lap. Think about all the cars that have already been lapped just purely on pace or made mistakes on pit lane. Santino Ferrucci doing all of the things that he did a few years ago that created some sensation around this driver that put him in a situation to be the one called for this opportunity.
And the point about jumping into Xfinity races with no practice is very similar.
So, Rookie of the Year at the Indianapolis 500. He has had some wild rides there, but very good rides, and he is an incredible, consistent finisher with the greatest spectacle in racing. This was in his maiden appearance. It got the attention of Dale Earnhardt Jr., who called him the driver of the day on that day, other than Simon Pagenaud winning. That's when he got Rookie of the Year. Do you know, all season long, you can grab your mobile device and scan the QR code on the screen for a chance to win $25,000 from Hy-Vee. Simply scan the code, register at HyVdeals.com for your chance to win the big prize. Pretty cool, huh? And a quick reminder, following our race coverage, there'll be an extended post-race coverage that's going to be live on Peacock. Yep, we heard you. You wanted to see a little bit more, so we're giving you more. So after we're done here on NBC at the conclusion of the race, make the switch over to Peacock. You can scan the QR code or go to peacocktv.com to sign up right now. You'll hear not only from the podium place getters, but a few more drivers on their thoughts on this XPEL 375, a race that this man here, Scott McLaughlin, has led for 114 of the 126 laps so far. What a day. Championship leader in command. Didn't start on the pole position, but took the lead nice and early and took off. Got his two teammates chasing him down in second and third with Joseph Newgarden and Will Power. Then Scott Dixon, lead Chip Ganassi racing driver, and Marcus Ericsson. We haven't spoken a lot about the Swedish driver. There he is there in the Husky Chocolates Honda. He has done an awesome job today. He is up 9 positions from where he started. He's pulled off some good moves. He's ahead of Rinus VeeKay and then Colton Herta.
And we haven't talked much about him, but we always got to remember that orange and blue PNC car of Scott Dixon, just quietly staying out of trouble, working on his race car. A 5-time winner. He starts P4 here, just about half distance, just past half distance. What does Scott Dixon start to do to get to himself to the front?
Looking for a 6th Texas Motor Speedway win. His teammate Ericsson's growing a little impatient. Everybody's looking to get the jump as the green flag flies. It's a Penske 1, 2, 3. Dixon trying to stop that, looking for an option. Herta, VeeKay, they're working on Ericsson.
Really dicey here. These tires are pretty cold now and have probably picked up quite a bit of dust and debris. They'll be cleaned up now after 1 and 2, and everybody trying to figure out which way the car in front of them, James, is going to go.
Look out, look
There's
out.
a big crash. 3 cars in the wall. DeFrancesco.
One of the Meyer Shank cars is
Elio
involved.
Castro Neves and Graham Rahal.
Graham Rahal. Oh man, that's a tough one. Can't wait to get a replay of what happened there. But as you would say, Townsend, the tires are cold. There's more marbles, there's more dirt and debris as the race has gone on. That high line kind of gets tougher and tougher to make work. And
that's the 3rd yellow where DeFrancesco has been in the vicinity. First 2, I really don't put on him, but cars had to go high and wide as he slid up, and we'll just have to see what happens on this replay. Castro Neves, the wheels out. DeFrancesco's moving in the cockpit. Look at all the marbles just on the apron.
And that's the other thing coming in for these green flag pit stops. The drivers love yellow flag pit stops at Texas because in the green flag pit stops, you're trying to push on all those marbles on the apron there. Very, very difficult thing to do. Good to see Devlin DeFrancesco getting out of the car. AMR safety team very quickly on the scene. IndyCar drivers incredibly lucky to have those guys and girls with us.
Looking back, and DeFrancesco was low. They were 3 wide with Graham Rahal in the middle. I'm not sure who the aggressor was there.
It's tough to tell if Devlin was trying to make it a 3-wide party or if Elio was more coming to. We'll have to tell you. I want to see it start sooner there. I need to see a little bit earlier as to how they got to that position.
Here we go.
On board now, Felix Rosenquist.
Oh, DeFrancesco got below the white line, I think, and then kind of shot up the track. This is what happened with Colton Herta a couple years ago with Scott Dixon.
Exactly. Side by side. You see Castroneves on the outside. Ooh, ugly hit.
Look at the yellow car on the left.
Yeah, that's ill-advised.
Ambitious move for sure.
Rookie mistake.
Tried to keep it down low enough to avoid Graham Rahal. Ultimately went below the white line, and when you already know there's 2 cars side by side in front of you and 3 wide has not been something that's been a topic of conversation so far this weekend.
Here's what it looked like for Helio Castroneves, the 4-time Indy 500 winner.
Oh, that sound.
That's what a 200-mile-an-hour crash sounds like. Helio is okay, but annoyed.
Do you think he's talking to himself or to the marshal there?
Well,
the safety team. Is he just running through things?
He hasn't had the benefit of a replay yet, and we'll see what that reaction's like. But I'm sure he's super frustrated. Had a decent qualifying result, up in 6th.
The 46-year-old Brazilian who won the Indy 500 last year, won the Rolex 24 at Daytona this year, out of the race. He wanted a better lead up to the Indy 500 this year at the first and only oval before we head to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the month of May. To Kevin Lee, who do you have, Kev?
Well, I've got Kyle Kirkwood, who's just come out of the medical center. Good to see that you're okay. What a run on your first oval IndyCar race. Tell us about jumping all those spots, and then you're going to see a replay for the first time of what put you out of the race with the crash.
Yeah, you know, I mean, we were running a phenomenal race. We were starting really far back, and unfortunately, there at the end, I got caught out in the PJ1. But man, the restart that we had, we went right to the front from mid-20, so I was super happy with that. But what happened there was, once I got into the PJ1, I was good at first, right? So I'm around the outside of Devlin, and he wiggled a little bit, came up on me, and it pushed me just too far into the PJ1, into that resin, and the car let go once. I caught it, and then the next time there was no catching it. So unfortunately, I was just forced up there, and I think maybe that just happened to a couple more guys. I didn't get to see what happened, but that stuff's slick, that's for sure.
For rookies, the goal is always just to run a lot of laps. Did you run enough to feel like you gained some valuable experience that you can take to the Indy 500 and coming back here next year as well?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, we ran over 100 laps there and did a couple pit stops, and we were able to gain positions, and I figured I was getting into a nice rhythm there, being able to pass some guys and getting runs on people. But I mean, of course, we wish we could have finished the race there, but we were having a great race up until that point. It just sucks that, unfortunately, for the number 14 Rocket Chevrolet guys, we weren't able to put it up front for them or keep it up front.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you.
For those of you watching in Jupiter, Florida, that's your guy, Kyle Kirkwood, the 23-year-old rookie. Didn't get to race here in Indy Lights because Lights hasn't raced here in more than 15 years. So it was a big weekend and he was doing so well. But he was talking about getting up into that traction compound area where you see the darker passage on the track where there is significantly less grip for Indy cars as opposed to NASCARs. And we are under our 4th caution period of this race with an ugly crash involving 3 cars, DeFrancesco, Rahal, and Castroneves. Quick reminder about tomorrow night on USA with WrestleMania around the corner. Don't miss a second of the shocking, pulse-pounding action of WWE Raw. Tomorrow night, 8 Eastern on USA. This has kind of felt a little bit like WWE. The last few goes round, trying to get back into a rhythm after some pretty severe crashes. This is the most recent. Devlin DeFrancesco in the bright yellow car, Graham Rahal, Helio Castro-Neves, and some lucky drivers behind them who were able to get through.
And James, you're pointing at Santino Ferrucci in the black car. Tell us what you see.
Yeah, well, we just saw him dodging cars in Indianapolis in the 500, and look at how he just managed to avoid it here. But again, here you're Graham Rahal, you're focused on Helio Castro-Neves to your outside, and then last minute, the 29 of Devlin DeFrancesco makes it a 3-wide party. And the last guy to a 3-wide party, the rule is last in, first out. It's a LIFO situation when you're doing 3 wides on an oval. And we just haven't seen that kind of racing at this track so far.
Yeah, and DeFrancesco has to know that they're already 2 wide. He's right behind Graham Rahal. Just made a really poor decision there to force 3 wide and get himself below the apron. At that point, he loses control and goes right up into Graham.
I can't believe how close that was for Ferrucci.
Yeah. So lucky escape for Santino Ferrucci and Jimmy Johnson and Felix Rosenqvist, who all were able to sail on through. That means Santino Ferrucci, this man here in the Hy-Vee Honda, has gone from last. I know I mentioned earlier Graham Rahal started last. He was elevated to 26th when this guy was placed in the 45 after just a brief morning warm-up. So Ferrucci from 27th and last up to 10th position as we see the Views Chevy of Felix Rosenqvist.
And he's one of those teams that's been debating whether they come in, but this wasn't just simply to come in. Felix just radioed in, there's something wrong with the car, maybe a differential or something. So I needed to take a check. It's more than just a typical vibration, and now he's just been told by Billy Vincent to shut the car off. So the driver that started on the pole trying to resurrect what's been a really difficult year plus since moving to Arrow McLaren SP is going to see a good opportunity go away today. And they are done. They said, shut it off, we're done.
Yeah, Kev, we can see him giving the shutdown signal. It looked like a mechanic reached down, maybe a broken half shaft, it looks like there, which is really, really unfortunate for Rosenqvist. What a great race car starting from pole and looked very racy, had the pit stop issues. Just going back to what happened there in turn 3 with the 3-car crash, reminded me a lot what happened with Colton Herta and Scott Dixon. Let's look back to a couple years ago. There's Colton Herta charging an exact same situation.
Just a
young
little
rookie driver below the apron.
Just below the white line.
And this is on board with Rossi. You thought Ferrucci was good. Look at this one.
That was the save of the season, I think, for Alexander Rossi. But yeah, you're exactly right. Rookie driver, first time racing at a Speedway in Texas against multiple-time winner here, and just got a little bit below the white line on entry there, and that's going to happen 10 times out of 10 times, and you can't come back from that. Kevin Lee's got more with Helio Castro-Neves now.
First non-Indy 500 oval in 5 years, and it was going pretty well. You'll see a replay for the first time. I'm going to guess right now, you don't really know what happened and what put you in the wall.
No, I had no idea. Just heard 3 wide, and I froze it to make sure that I give space to Graham, and then I saw he spinning out, and then I had no room, so I still can't see what happened there. But
second look will tell you.
Oh yeah, here you go. Yeah, but sounds like they already touched it. Anyway, whatever happened is unnecessary. Again, it's still half of the race, 100 laps to go. I know everybody's trying to make space. As you can see, a little late on that call. I mean, come on, you know that 3 is not gonna happen. Special. If it would be 10 laps, 50 laps to go, I understand, but this is half of the. It's yeah, frustrating. But anyway, we are just taking it easy. We're just taking our pace. Obviously, the car was good. We just, we knew exactly what we need to do. AutoNation Series article machine was actually running good. It's a shame that happens. Not happy, obviously, but well, we move on to the next one, Long Beach.
So no 5th win at Texas, but a 5th Indy 500 is still in play in a couple of months for Helio Castro-Neves.
Now we notice what happened. Got to see the replays there, and that helps fill in some of the gaps for Helio as to why he is out of this XPEL 375. It still has this man at the front, Scott McLaughlin, who couldn't believe what transpired on the streets of St. Petersburg, Florida. Pole position to victory lane, his first career win. He got to celebrate with his wife, with his team, and with some of his competitors, most notably the best in this series of the modern era. Scott Dixon, who happens to be a fellow New Zealander, was leading the charge in the celebration of Scott McLaughlin becoming a first-time IndyCar winner on the Sunday night in St. Pete, which was a really memorable moment. He received phone calls and texts from wide and far. Unfortunately, his mum and dad and sister weren't there to celebrate with him in St. Pete, but he has not taken that for granted and has gone on and grown in confidence, coming here to Texas, where he got his first career podium a year ago, and Marty has led 131 laps. Unfortunately, a guy who knows how to win here will not today. He's with you.
Yeah, Graham Rahal out of the infield care center. Was that a bit ambitious maybe of the 29 to try and take it 3 wide there after the restart?
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to see it. I think so. You know, I was certainly trying to give Elio as much room as I can. But yeah, I mean, you know, if you're not there, it's very hard. I mean, third man in needs to be the last man out. I knew he was there, but I'm trying to give Elio space because I knew he wouldn't make it otherwise. It's just tight confines. You know, as I said to Delvin, I think he's got a bright future, but obviously he punted Takuma earlier in the race, and you got to learn from these mistakes, I think. And like I said, it's tight. It's tight in there, but you're hoping that you realize when you only got a right front to a left rear that you got to bail out, particularly at speeds like this. And as I said, I'm trying to watch for Elio as well. So tight confines. We're going to live to fight another day. I feel bad for Fleet Cost and Care and RLL, expensive weekend for us. Heads down, you know, just focus on Long Beach and try to do the best we can, Marty. I thought we had a pretty good day going though to battle to where we were. I thought our car was okay today. Just disappointing end, yeah.
Frustrating way to end it, but he did show kind of everyone else in the field, Diff, that, hey, that high line can work. You can make passes there if you want to.
He went from 26th into the top 10 and was on that forward surge. Unfortunately, the day is over for Graham Rahal, and the attrition rate only accelerates. There are now, what, 7, 8 cars out of this race, and we've still got 103 to go. Out with a bang and a crunch at 200 miles an hour. DeFrancesco, Rahal, and Castro Neves. You rejoin us with 100 laps to go here at Texas Motor Speedway, and we are going. Let's hope we can get into a rhythm here. Scott McLaughlin restarts the field once again. Dixon in that bright orange and blue PNC Bank Honda looks to the inside and has to defend. Here goes Rinus VeeKay. Up and around at Marcus Ericsson, wheel to wheel.
You would think that some of these crashes we have had would calm these drivers down, but not the young Chargers. VeeKay going for it and making it work.
Calm down, you've clearly never met Rinus VeeKay, just making it hang out there, but Marcus Ericsson about to attack back, wanting to look around the outside of Scott Dick. Oh, the pass for the lead is happening. Joseph Newgarden into P1.
PPG Chevy straight to the front. VeeKay likes his chances, so too does Ericsson. He doesn't want to let Colton Herter by and works on his teammate.
Oh, Dixon throwing a little shoulder, a little fade. So does Alex Palou down the back straightaway in that blue NTT car.
It didn't work though because Pagenaud got by. So Newgarden, McLaughlin. How forceful is McLaughlin going to be on his teammate? And Will Power, the third Penske car, runs third.
Doesn't matter because Rinus VeeKay is going to be by all of them in a couple of laps if he keeps this up side by side with Will Power. He's going to have the momentum off of turn 2 to take that into position 3 as Colton Herta's down low into turn 3.
Look at the moves the Sonax Chevy is making. This kid from the Netherlands, as the battle is on for the front. McLaughlin's not going to settle for second, nor is VeeKay. Here comes the Dutch kid.
Oh, let's see how this works out. VeeKay makes it work once again.
You are clear.
Look at this.
Yeah, go get him. Clear.
Go get him, all right, he is. Now the teammates fight. Power's got by Newgarden. Has Joseph got a problem?
Joseph had to lift when Rinus came down, took some air off him. He slid up with the front end, had to lift out of the throttle. That gave Will Power the run, and now he's at risk, but Pato O'Ward trying to take it to Marcus Ericsson. That's not for position right now.
He wants to get to the front and get his lap back if he can.
Colton Herta getting awfully high in 1 and 2. His right side tires up on that black stuff. Alex Palou looking racy. Here comes Pagenaud now in the black and pink Auto Nation car.
On the reset and on the restart, Pagenaud has been one of the best to move forward. Let's not forget about Santino Ferrucci or Scott Dixon on Joseph Newgarden.
That's about as close as you can cut it going into 1. Dixon wanting no part of the high line through the middle of the corner.
And again, that just sets Joseph up to get passed by Marcus Ericsson, at least get attacked by Marcus Ericsson, having to lift out of that throttle as the number 9 car comes down and takes the air off the front of his car, creating a bit of understeer. But now Marcus Ericsson going to the outside into 1.
Last year, fellas, there was 185 passes for the entirety of the race. There were 269 passes at the halfway mark here today. This has been a way better race. Despite the cautions and the retirements, there has been some spectacular action on track.
And look at the run from Colton Herta. He went into turn 3. I was watching the Firestone telemetry, wide open, 230 miles an hour, going into turn 1.
At some point, Joseph Newgarden's going to get really frustrated getting passed around the outside of turn 1. Threw his elbows out a little bit there to stop Colton Herta, who now has to defend against Simon Pagenaud.
Frenchman got into the draft of the young Californian, tried to slingshot his way around.
Pato Award with a big run. Pato almost into the grass on the tri-oval.
I mean, I know he wants to get his lap back, but at the same time, he's got about 6 cars to get through. Take it easy. As Pelot,
look at Ferrucci,
battling Ferrucci.
Santino Ferrucci, who found out at 9 o'clock this morning he was racing today, is in the top 10 and going forward. What a drive.
The Hy-Vee Honda is humming.
And guys, he is 6 laps better on fuel than all those in front of him. He used one of the cautions to come in and top off, so it's under yellow, but he's a couple laps better in real time, better than those in front of him if everyone's doing it on one more stop.
And Kevo, we got a lead change. It is Rinus VeeKay in the Ed Carpenter Racer Sonax Chevy to the front. Let's not forget, 2 years ago when he made his debut here, it was not pretty. He crashed twice. He crashed in his first practice session, crashed in the race, took out Alex Pelot, and now 2 years later, and a lot of learning and maturing, look at this guy go.
Guys, that move was as smooth as Canadian maple. That was amazing going around the outside. Let's take a replay here. That was a sweet, sweet pass. Set him up beautifully. Not afraid of that high line. Scott McLaughlin really didn't put up much of a fight, Townsend.
You know, coming into today, one of my notes was how Ed Carpenter Racing appeared to be struggling at Texas, a track they used to be so strong, but that piece of paper just got wadded up and thrown into the corner of the room. VeeKay, fastest car on track right now and the raciest car on track, Marty, with all of those side-by-side moves. Amazing.
I think one thing that's going on too, Townsend, is that most of the field is trying to save fuel and make it on one stop. Meanwhile, in the ECR camp, they have unleashed Rinus VeeKay. They told him to go hard as you want. So VeeKay using all that power in that Chevy engine.
Yeah, that was going to be a thought. Did Scott McLaughlin let him by? Because running out front, you do burn a lot more fuel. This is becoming a fuel-safe race with all those cautions, with hopefully just one stop left to go for these drivers. So if Scott can just sort of sit in his wheel tracks, take care of his tires, but at the same time, save a bunch of that Speedway fuel, this could actually still be advantage McLaughlin at the end.
VeeKay's made the fuel work pretty well before. I know his team will be studying the numbers very closely. You have to think that the final stop needs to be right around lap 186, 185 to get home. Meanwhile, look at Will Power. He's had enough of fuel savings. He sends it into one.
That's the way to do it in the Verizon Chevy. Will Power, the 2-time winner. Now here comes the 5-time winner, Scott Dixon, on the inside of McLaughlin.
Did somebody tell VeeKay to whoa up?
He must have, because that run from Will Power was incredible. We haven't seen anybody with that kind of momentum into turn 1. That was amazing.
This was the guy who was the catalyst and the proponent for a special practice session yesterday to get 7 other cars out on track, in addition to his own, 6 other cars out there, to run on the higher line in that second lane, that second groove, to try and promote a better race today with more passing. We have seen that.
I think it was a bit of a bone of contention that more drivers didn't sign up for that, but I think now Will Power is happy that he was one of the few because he is putting it to good work.
Well, one of the things that running that special session does is it gives you the sight lines. It gives you the visual reference points of what it means to run second, maybe even third lane up, so that you've done it once and it doesn't feel totally foreign and is sketchy. Let's see this move one more time. It looked like maybe McLaughlin checks up, decides to kind of hang back. Meanwhile, Power says, I'll take it. I'll take every bit of it.
Look to the right. Look to the right. See ya.
You can hear the throttle there from McLaughlin, just kind of hunting for traction in that turbulent air. These cars can feel so light and skatey, especially on used tires. About 20 laps till the final stop.
82 laps to go, make it 81 from here. of this 248-lap race that's been punctuated by 4 cautions for 52 laps. Yeah, we've spent a lot of time under yellow today, but now we're back into a good racing rhythm.
Hey, Marty, what are you hearing on the radio on fuel mileage? I know you track all those Penske cars really closely. What do you hear from pits to driver?
Townsend, it's a fascinating chess match down here on pit road, because what they're telling drivers is, you see when they last stopped at 64 for a lot of these leaders, they're telling drivers, hey, if you have a run, take it. But if you don't, back off. And that's what happened with Rinus VeeKay. You see Ron Rzucki calling the shots for Will Power. So that's why Will went to the lead. Now he's trying to save fuel. But Hinch, you know this, when you're out front, you're not saving any fuel. You're getting the worst fuel mileage of anybody in the entire field.
It's usually the worst place to be if you're trying to protect the fuel mileage number. So I'm not sure what the mindset is there, unless it really is just a tire thing. You definitely can take care of your tires better out front, but you're going to sacrifice fuel. It's a bit of a payoff right now for these guys.
And one of the things we've seen, Diff, for so many years here with Scott Dixon, 5-time winner at Texas, is the lead driver just toying with the trailing car, letting them get close enough in the corner to burn up their tires, but not giving up track position. Dixon, the master, and he's taught a lot of these other veterans how to do it, like Will Power.
His composure is just something else, especially at this track, where for all of the frenetic activity that goes on at over 200 miles an hour, this guy is just so calm, so serene behind the wheel. He's intense, don't get me wrong. He's very intense, but he's able to keep those emotions and the moment in check. And that's what he's doing right now, managing these last 76 laps.
And you can see it right here. Look at Dixon just kind of managing the air bubble in front of him. He's not running up on VeeKay. He's content to run third right now and just keep clean air on the front of his wing, all the while looking in his mirror and making sure that he doesn't allow Scott McLaughlin to get much of a run. He's just sort of toying with the air bubble between the cars front and back.
I was just going to say the same thing, Townsend. And you can hear how early McLaughlin is lifting, basically at the start-finish line. None of these guys want to get too close and run up on the tire, run up and burn off their tires.
And they're starting to slide around a lot too, so they definitely don't want to fall into the trap of some of the younger drivers we've seen today that slide wide, high, and get all sketchy and fall back. Look what's going on now.
Jimmy Johnson on Santino Ferrucci. Usually that's the move that Ferrucci pulls off. Jimmy Johnson is in the top 10. We haven't said that since he's been in IndyCar racing. We knew that he would do well here on his first oval, but maybe not this well.
It's like Christian Lundgaard now coming into the mix a little further back, but what a run for Jimmy Johnson, and what an education he's had today, James. A lot of the drama has happened right in front of him, whether it's cars sliding around, cars finding air going high, or cars crashing, and I think Jimmy has soaked it all in. Here's that move again.
Just pedaling that throttle going into turn 3, getting the car comfortable in the clean air once Ferrucci dropped down to the bottom, and then hard back on the throttle. That Chip Ganassi Racing entry is hooked up right now.
And that was a brave move.
It was.
I mean, when you think about how slippery it is, high in 3 and 4, that was slick. Slick moves on a slick track.
It's kind of like you said, he's had a lot of stuff happen around him. We were joking during the break that he's learned a lot of lessons by watching other people make mistakes today.
I spoke to Blair Julian, his strategist, longtime Scott Dixon man, and I said to him, what would be a good result? Everybody's hyping up Jimmy being on the oval, using his 7 NASCAR wins here and his titles, etc. And I said to that man there, would a top 10 be satisfied? He said, top 10 would be unreal. So that's where they sit at the moment, in 9th in the Carvana Honda.
Well, he's well on his way right now. Look at him finding that clean air. Don't get too high there, Jimmy. That's right up in the gray.
I love it.
Making it work.
I love it.
Working on Simon Pagenaud. Johnson is surging forward, so too is Newgarden. 1, almost 2 moves. Gets Dixon, now works on Ericsson.
We almost saw Ericsson move up the track a little bit inadvertently into the way of Joseph, which could have been a huge issue for the number 2 car, but luckily everything gets in lockstep.
Now the pace at the front that Power is setting is slowing. They're down to 202 miles an hour. There's McLaughlin looping around the outside of VeeKay, so the game is on. This is a little bit of 200 mile an hour chess. Managing it to get to that last stop, and then it'll be gloves off.
The interesting thing is going to be to see who pits first, who blinks first and comes to pit lane, gets those new Firestone tires on, tries to get a couple really quick laps going, get a little bit of track time, track position, and see where that shakes out. It's going to be a very interesting game of chicken when it comes to the pit stops. Marty Snyder.
Inch, I think that's the savvy of Will Power. He got to the lead and immediately slowed down. Now, having his teammate behind him certainly helps a lot, but I'm being told that they are making the fuel number they need. Team Penske 1-2 right now, trying to hold on to the lead. Will Power trying for his second win at the Texas Motor Speedway. Pit stops coming up. The final stops, should be the final stops of the day here at Texas Motor Speedway. Will Power out front right now.
First to stop last. Is that going to be the case? Here's Rinus VeeKay, Marty.
Coming down pit road. Boy, they have struggled with the handling of this race car from about half tanks on. This car just absolutely loses the handle as those Firestones wear away. 62 to go at this point. This is going to be a stretch. He's going to have to save. He can make it to the end, but the other thing I think is going to happen here, Townsend, I think this is going to open the door for everybody else coming down pit road, like Colton Herta coming down pit road right now. Now you'll get the fresher Firestones on sooner. Will that pay off? This is in essence short pitting. Getting those tires on sooner, you can really turn some lap time once you go back out on the track.
Especially if you rejoin the track in clean air. That's when you can really make hay. Problems for the left front though. That is terrible for your final stop and green flag. He cannot get the gun released from the wheel nut. Huge time loss on pit lane for Colton Herta.
14.5-second stop for what should have been about an 8-second stop. That's brutal. That is his race essentially done. That's going to drop him very far back. Any advantage he was hoping to get by the undercut is gone now. While out front, it's still Marcus Ericsson. You saw the Penske drivers in the side-by-side basically let him go. A lot of strategy happening. This is not just flat-out racing.
And here comes the leader.
Comes out right at the front of the pack there. He's got to blend in. This is going to interfere with some of these drivers.
So that was the last chance for Andretti Autosport, with Devlin DiFrancesco crashing out. Electrical and mechanical issues for Rossi and for Grosjean. This was Andretti's last chance.
Watch him fire it though into turn one. Watch how much of a gap he'll put on Joseph Newgarden as new tires full send into turn one, but he's now 2 laps down.
And look, he's already going by. Oh, Scott McLaughlin's trying to pit. Colton Herta was trying to get that position back as Scott McLaughlin dived down into pit lane, going in laps sooner than Marcus Ericsson or his teammate Will Power. This is now the race for the win.
That could have been ugly. That was close.
So treacherous is that apron in 3 and 4 this late in the race, Marty. There are marbles everywhere, and it makes it really tough when you pick up those marbles to come into your pit box cleanly.
Yeah, that was dicey coming to pit road, but you've got to get everything you can coming to pit road and the exit from pit road as well. So critical here at Texas. Scott McLaughlin has led 144 laps to this point. He got the fuel number they needed coming down pit road. So the first of those that were really in the mix for the lead up front, Scott McLaughlin coming to pit road.
Johnson has pitted. Here comes Joseph Newgarden in the PPG Chevy. Kev.
No changes for Joseph Newgarden. He was saving fuel, and Tim Cindric said, anything you save me now is going to help later. Newgarden is still a factor and can win this race, Marty.
Will Power has done a masterful job saving fuel on that run, but also running up front. Very happy with the handling of the Verizon machine. He leaves pit road. His teammate Joseph Newgarden flashes by. Might have cost him a little bit of time here on pit road for the 12.
All right, so the front runners making their final stop. How's this going to shake out? Who is in the best shape for these remaining 55 laps at Texas Motor
There's
Speedway?
McLaughlin, there's Newgarden. So McLaughlin beats out his teammate on the green flag stops right there.
VeeKay is
here
ahead.
Comes Ericsson.
And what a terrific job Marcus Ericsson has done all day long, leading laps when he came to pit road right here. Remember what happened to them at St. Pete? They got a penalty early in that race. They rallied back for a top 9 finish today. A quiet but very good day for Marcus Ericsson. His teammate Scott Dixon pitted the lap before. This should pretty much complete that sequence of leaders coming to pit road for the final stop of the day.
All right, how does Ericsson do on his in-lap and out-lap? Ericsson has to sit on that second pit speed limiter. Here comes McLaughlin and Rinus VeeKay, who's just in front of McLaughlin. Ericsson off the button, now accelerating, and there's your answer. Well ahead goes VeeKay and McLaughlin, and Ericsson's trying to hang on and not let Newgarden pass him.
It's going to be hard for him to get up to speed fast enough with that second lane in 3 and 4 working, and you can see already Joseph Newgarden has cleared Marcus Ericsson. it is still Rinus VeeKay of that group that's in front. But remember, pitting earlier, he's been struggling to keep his tires underneath him. I don't know if he's going to be able to hold back these Penske's.
And the difference there, Hinch, is 5 laps, which is considerable. Dixon getting caught up in traffic. It's Callum Eilert. Look at Pagenaud in the pink and black. Maya Shank. Machine sweeps by Jimmy Johnson
Jimmy
on the high
Johnson's
side.
going high.
Hold on, Jimmy, he does.
It's a 220-mile-an-hour game of chess and game of chicken at the same time. Jimmy Johnson, I think one of the only guys we've seen turn in on the high line with a car in front of him and come out the other side.
Jimmy Johnson just passed his Chip Ganassi two champions, Dixon and Palou, on the racetrack, straight up in traffic. His pit stop is complete. Johnson having the best race of his IndyCar career.
Ericsson on Newgarden. The Husky Chocolate Honda around the outside. This is tight. This is where you get nervous, really nervous.
Little wiggle from Marcus Ericsson. He had to crack the throttle, so he lost a bit of that momentum, but they are still wheel-to-wheel into turn 3, but advantage goes to Joseph Newgarden.
And it looks like McLaughlin just got past Rinus VeeKay.
And it looks like these two are going to go steaming by him as well. Not a great run off of 2, obviously. This is going to be dicey.
It's Malukas.
Oh,
sorry, that's Malukas. Same colored car.
Wow, good driving, Marcus Ericsson and Joseph Newgarden to go wheel to wheel several times like that. Keep it clean, respectful at over 200 miles an hour.
So you see Malukas and Eilert upper left-hand corner running 1-2, but they still have to make their last pit stop. So this is the battle for the win with VeeKay, McLaughlin, Newgarden, Ericsson, all dicing it out in front.
Marcus Ericsson right in his wheel tracks coming off of 2 there. It's going to be a great run into 3. He really seems to like trying to get that run off of 4 into turn 1. We saw him take the lead using that move. He's right there again. Great run. He's going to be able to pull out nice and early. Try and set them up. Joseph knows he's there. Joseph's thinking, I want to turn in as late as possible. Force Marcus Ericsson to have to turn in even later on that less ideal higher line. So good defensive driving from the number 2 car right now, just trying to keep the 8 behind him. He's almost driving Marcus's car as much as he is his own.
Ericsson, who won 2 races last year, was a championship contender in his 3rd IndyCar season. The former F1 driver, who now loves life as an IndyCar driver, lived in Indianapolis all his time here, and really feels part of this community, knows the tracks, knows the system, knows the cadence of a season, and has not loved driving this much in a long time.
So Malukas pits. Callum Eilert still has to make his last stop, but once Callum Eilert comes in, that'll put VeeKay to the front. It'll also put Jimmy Johnson into 7th.
Callum Eilert definitely needs to come to pit lane soon. He's running a 196 was his last lap time, 211 for Rinus VeeKay behind him, and 213 for Scott McLaughlin behind him. So he's going to have to come in pretty soon, Kevin.
Jimmy Johnson openly talked about top 10 being within reach coming in, but that was more with people asking him. In reality, it was just run all the laps, learn as you go. And how much has he learned during this race? Conservative early. That's how they started the weekend, but now he's as racy as anyone. We thought this might apply for Jimmy Johnson. He's familiar with ovals, he's comfortable. Boy, does he look good in his IndyCar oval debut leading to the Indy 500.
Look at this up front, McLaughlin on VeeKay. Around they go, and this guy is trying to do what Scott Dixon did a couple of years ago by winning back-to-back the first 2 races of the season. So clears VeeKay, now it's Newgarden to try and do the same to the Sonax Chevy driver, and McLaughlin will just clear David Malukas if he can, and then have some clear space ahead.
I don't know, because David Malukas just pitted, so Malukas is on perfectly fresh Firestones, and that can cause a little bit of headache for McLaughlin.
And this is where he's got to be patient. We saw that in an incredible way in St. Pete, not losing his cool with the red tire versus black tire strategy calls there. And now he's got to manage these tires. You can run them hard for the first couple laps of a stint, Townsend, but we talked about it. Running them too hard can have really negative effects later as we see him. Joseph Newgarden now moving around Rinus VeeKay.
Lucas just clicked off a lap at 216 miles an hour.
And is the last car on the lead lap for Dale Coyne Racing. Here's Marty.
Just talked to the Rinus VeeKay camp. I asked how big is the fuel save. Woody Harvey, the strategist, told me significant. So you're seeing Rinus VeeKay give up these spots. Also, Scott McLaughlin was told a moment ago by Kyle Moyer, go into slot 2. That's a mapping for him to give him a little more boost and give him a little more fuel. He was able to get that lead. Immediately they told him, once you got to the lead, save fuel. So McLaughlin learning on the fly here, saving fuel on an oval, learning how the tools work in the car, trying to win his second straight race of the season.
So there's 2 ways for a driver to save fuel in this situation. First one, really simple. Let off the throttle sooner into the corner, coast a little bit longer, just don't use as much of the loud pedal. And then the drivers have switches on the wheel to adjust the engine maps. Both Chevy and Honda will have an array of different maps you can go to that will affect things like horsepower.
Keep in a little bit of draft and keep on Joseph here. You're doing great.
Fuel consumption, all sorts of different things you can adjust there, and running in traffic like this, running in someone's draft will help pull your car along, and that'll save a bit of fuel too. So Scott McLaughlin doing everything he has to make sure he hits the number he needs to get to the end.
Remember, this is the track where he came to when he was still in that evaluation mode with Team Penske, right? He tested at Circuit of the Americas, and then he tested here, and he got into an IndyCar at Texas Motor Speedway and blew everybody away. Got his first career podium here last year. He feels
back up to
comfortable on the ovals. Ran well at the Indy 500 until a pit entry mistake. Let's talk more about the race leader. What you got, Marty?
Hey, Diff, I just love the coaching from Kyle Moyer. Listen, he knows his young driver, he didn't have a ton of oval experience, right? He had never really run ovals until he came here to IndyCar. Kyle is coaching him almost every lap. Clearly, Moyer has won an Indy 500 with Simon Pagenaud. He's telling him, Townsend, when he can use fuel and when he needs to hit the number. He comes up to a car, he said, okay, use some fuel to get around that car. Earlier in the race, he was like, don't use that adjustment, use this adjustment. Kyle Moyer literally coaching McLaughlin, hopefully what they're thinking, to the win here in 37 laps.
Racing's a team game, there's no doubt about it, guys, and this is a key example of that. Kyle Moore, just as you say, Marty, coaching his driver through this, but Scott just so calm when we were there on his onboard. I'm watching him take his hand off the wheel in the middle of 3 to make an adjustment on the wheel. This thing is hooked up, and he is very cool and calm.
I can't help but think back to Marty's interview with McLaughlin before the start of this race. Lee, you've known McLaughlin for a long time. I don't think I've seen him as totally laser-focused pre-race as he was earlier this morning. He knew he had a winning car.
Different guy to last year, and understandably so. And that win did wonders for his confidence. This victory isn't his yet, though, because look who's there. 2-time series champion and a winner here in Texas in the PPG Chevy, Joseph Newgarden, who, by the way, has been strong all weekend. In practice, in qualifying. As Malukas goes around Carpenter, keep an eye on Newgarden. And these are the 2 cars who quit the first practice session 15 minutes early because they felt so good.
We talked about it at the time, Lee. I have never seen drivers give up that much track time, engineers give up that much track time on a race weekend, and we called it right then and there. If that wasn't for a problem, and that was just because they were happy, the other guys should be worried, and this is absolutely coming true. Those 2 drivers running first and second right now in a commanding position. They really rolled off the trucks well, and it's just incredible to see the performance that
looks like Newgarden's just kind of riding right now and studying what's in front of him. Still 33 laps to go. McLaughlin working very carefully to get through lap traffic.
So you said Joseph studying what's going on up front. When was the last time you said a 7-time NASCAR champion was studying an Indy 500 winner? That's what's going on with Jimmy Johnson and Simon Pagenaud. Johnson is 7th, Pagenaud 6th, only half a second between these 2 guys. Jimmy Johnson's oval debut in the NTT IndyCar Series has gone better than expected.
He's done really, really well. He's learned, he's been patient, he's been aggressive, it seems like, at the exact right time. His timing has been impeccable, and this is going to do wonders for his confidence, especially going into the biggest race in the world next month at the Indy 500.
I spent some time with his longtime friend and team owner, Rick Hendrick, this week, and Mr. H said, I don't know why he's doing it, but I know he's determined, so I wish him well.
And guys, we saw him pass on track his 5-time race-winning, 6-time champion teammate, Scott Dixon, and Scott's staying there. It's not like he's come back on him. So Jimmy Johnson doing an incredible job staying in Pagenaud's wheel tracks and keeping Dixon behind him.
So before the green flag dropped today, Jimmy Johnson, have a look at these numbers here. total laps in competition at Texas Motor Speedway, 11,500. And over those 11,500 laps are 7 Cup victories at this track alone. So you've got a 7-time Cup champ leading a 6-time IndyCar champ. That's pretty cool.
It takes second, third, and fourth on that list combined to get to the range that Jimmy Johnson has in terms of competition laps here at Texas.
And there you see race engineer Eric Cowden and Scott Pruitt. Coach, strategist, advisor. This is what those two guys signed up for too.
Yeah,
is
exactly.
To just kind of help sharpen his game, introduce him to the high-speed oval game in Indy cars. And I just wonder how badly Dixon's going to want to pass Jimmy Johnson before this is all said and done. Thinking you've learned quickly, but still a few tricks up Dixon's sleeve, I would think.
The captain's men, that is Team Penske drivers, have 10 victories here. Is it about to be 11 in 27 laps time, Kevin Lee?
Tim Cindric doesn't think fuel's an issue for the leaders up front, telling Joseph Newgarden it's more about saving the Firestones. And Joseph was telling me before the race that's going to be the big key. Who is the best in the end of a stint? That's all we're coming up to. Remarkable the run that we're having in some ways when you consider the two teams started over a little bit in the offseason. Eric Lytle in his second race as an IndyCar lead engineer. They didn't have a lot of time to build up a rapport in the offseason. They're running up front with a chance to win here in Texas, Marty.
Kevin, to explain the Team Penske success today, I want to go back to last May. Obviously, that was not an Indy 500 that Team Penske was very proud of. So they went to work in the offseason along with Team Chevy to come up A, with a better engine package, but B, to be better at the fast ovals overall. And this is the performance they're hoping to show up at Indianapolis with in a few weeks. In fact, Kyle Moyer walked into the team meeting 2 days after the Indianapolis 500, and he said, fellas, the Indy 500 is 363 days away. Every day in this shop, we get ready for that day. So that is what Team Penske has been focused on. Clearly, they have shown up at the ovals this year with much better performance.
So Scott McLaughlin drove the Dex Imaging Chevy at St. Pete. That was a home race for the sponsor. This is the XPEL Chevy. It's the principal sponsor for this race. And XPEL is based in San Antonio here in Texas. Wouldn't that be a remarkable coincidence? As we take you back to St. Pete, where Scott McLaughlin led 49 of the 100 laps after winning a bonus championship point with the NTTP1 award, drove to his first career victory. And the captain was there to congratulate him, Roger Penske. He called this a wombat roll. He was a little woozy. That was before doing the shoeing.
I was going to say, that probably didn't help the cause. I wonder if he's gotten that taste out of his mouth yet. So Scott McLaughlin, he's comfortable right now, but he does have the number 2 breathing down his neck. Let's listen on his radio and see what he's saying.
Joseph's back there saving fuel, and then he's eventually going to come after us. Okay, that's good. Fuel code now is 75. Back to slot 4.
So that instruction from Kyle Moyer to be in slot 4, that's going to be a fuel save map. They're just kind of comfortable right now. There's probably team orders to just sort of stay in lockstep, but at some point, it's going to be unleash the fury and watch these two guys go at it for the win.
Well, the variances in speed, if you've been looking at the graphics when the miles an hour is up there, it varies as much as 5-6 miles an hour between laps, depending on how much fuel they're instructed to save. So this is a little cat and mouse at the moment between the teammates. So it's Team Penske.
Okay, we can run as hard as we want now, hard as we want to the end here.
There you go. That's what you want to hear. All the fuel you need, go as fast as you need to, as fast as you want to. Question is, do you have tires to take advantage of all of the power available?
And how big a risk do you want to take trying to get by cars like David Malukas?
I think you just game this thing. You just study your mirrors, study what's in front of you, and work that air bubble like I talked about earlier, like Scott Dixon has done so many times before here.
.5 laps left to run here at Texas Motor Speedway. Our GMR track facts. In the races run so far, 21 different winners. There might be just 22 in a few laps' time. And look at that, 20 races have had a margin of less than 1 second. Our James Hinchcliffe knows that. There's been some close ones here. Crazy close. Are we going to see that today between the Penske teammates?
Certainly looks like it's going to be under a second again, Lee, if it keeps up at this pace.
That's a big run right here. Look out, someone's in the wall. Lundgaard's in the wall.
Oh. We're staying green so far. We've seen some yellow flags come out really early, really quickly so far today, but looks like he's kept it.
Oh, wing damage. Lundgaard will have to come to pit lane. That's a real shame because he was running 13th in his first oval race. The 20-year-old Danish driver had done so well. Meanwhile, McLaughlin's been able to put J.R. Hildebrand between himself and Joseph Newgarden, and here comes Marcus Ericsson.
Yeah, I don't think that Newgarden wanted to wait very long before he made the move on Hildebrand because he didn't want to lose the draft and lose the game with McLaughlin. So he made quick work. So does Marcus Ericsson. Now Ericsson has the freshest tires in the top 5 right now. He last pitted on lap 194, Marty. What do you know about the 21?
Well, while Scott McLaughlin has been unleashed, Rinus VeeKay, who currently sits in 8th, has been told we can't make it to the end and there's no math and fuel saving that gets us to the end. At this point, we're going to have to hope for a caution. And Colton Herta got a fuel number and went, what? Like that's what they're getting behind the wheel right now, having to save a massive amount of fuel if they're going to make it to the end of this race.
Good scrap as we ride.
Get the car full?
With Colton Herta.
Oh, it's full.
Colton Herta saying, was the car full? Did you get a full fill?
He had that problem in St. Pete, so legitimate question from Colton Herta, but there's nothing worse from the driver's seat than being told, we have a crazy fuel number to make. Sorry, bud, no pushing, no racing, just make it happen.
Well, plus the wheel gun hiccup as well, which put paid to any chance he had of standing on the podium. Here come the first two.
That's Malukas.
Clear.
That puts Colton Herta, last car on the lead lap, with McLaughlin in tow.
12 laps to go. 12 laps between Scott McLaughlin and consecutive race victories in just his second season in IndyCar.
And Malukas is pulling away from that group. An incredible job from the rookie there. 11th place right now, started quite far back.
Yeah, just 10 laps fresher tires, all the fuel he possibly needs, and I think Colton Herta is going to fight really hard to stay on the lead lap just in case a yellow comes out here with just 10 laps to go when McLaughlin comes to the line.
Those of you following Jimmy Johnson's progress, he got as high as 5th, and then Simon Pagenaud got back by him. Now Jimmy has passed Simon again. They're having a really nice arm wrestle for a top 5.
Could you imagine Jimmy Johnson, what he's going to feel like if he pulls off a top 5 in his first oval race here in IndyCar?
Well, I mean, if it all ended right now for him in this race, he would still, I think, be thrilled with his pace, his racecraft, how much he's learned. But it looks like really steady hands on the tiller all day from Jimmy Johnson.
A really slow last lap from Pagenaud. Just looking up at the tower, a 199. He just lost another position to Scott Dixon. Alex Palou is going to go around the outside of turn 1, so problems on the number 60 machine.
Yeah, probably getting to the point in the tire life where it's absolutely fallen off a cliff. The balance for Pagenaud. Starting to see a lot of the lap times drop. In fact, here comes Pato O'Ward. O'Ward 1 lap down, but having no problem passing Pagenaud there.
Meanwhile, let's not lose sight of the fact of this man here, Santino Ferrucci, or Santucci as he's known, started in 27th and last and runs in 10th after only finding out this morning that he was going to fill in for Jack Harvey, who was not cleared by IndyCar Medical after a heavy crash right here yesterday where he hit both walls, either side of the back stretch, and was not ready to race. And Ferrucci stepped in at a moment's notice and has done nothing other than an exceptional job in the Hy-Vee Honda.
Just watching Ferrucci's hands there. It's looking a little twitchy off turn 2. There's a whole lot of respect and tenderness in those hands and fingers in how he leans the car in. He's got to hang on for 6 more laps.
Remember, when we are done here on NBC at the conclusion of this race, we will have extended coverage for you, post-race coverage on Peacock. 5 laps to go from this point here. Scott McLaughlin, Joseph Newgarden. Herder gets between them. McLaughlin was able to clear, and that's going to be a big asset for Scott McLaughlin.
That's huge, Lee. With only 5 laps to go, those laps pick off very quickly here at this track at these speeds. Joseph Newgarden not only has to try to catch up to, then pass Colton Herta, close that deficit to Scott. This is beautiful for Scott McLaughlin.
It's also beautiful for Chevrolet. It's been since 2016 that Chevy won the first 2 races of the season. Back then they won the first 5. What a turnaround that is to kick off the season with a street circuit and a high-speed oval if McLaughlin can bring it home.
Not over yet, not over yet, as Newgarden has cleared Herder, and here he comes. 3 laps to go this time by.
5.
Teammate on teammate.
3.
Under 3/10 of a second. Joseph Newgarden is definitely turning the wick up. It is now or never for that PPG Chevy.
And more traffic up the road for McLaughlin to contend with. How much does he press into the lap cars?
This is exactly like St. Pete, leading someone closing up on him. Lap traffic with 2 laps to go.
Oh boy, it was tense at St. Pete.
5.
It might even be more so here. 2 to go.
We know that lap traffic was a contentious issue with Scott after the race. We'll see how this lap traffic plays. Are they going to come into play here? Is it going to be a factor? There's too many cars for them to move out of the way, so he's just going to have to deal with this.
David Malukas, the rookie for Dale Coyne Racing with HMD, has done a really good job of staying ahead, so no worries there. Coming up on Callum Ilott, he's had a positive weekend as well. White flag waves, 1 to go for Scott McLaughlin.
Lee, Callum Ilott's last lap was 190 miles an hour. This is going to give Newgarden a chance on the back straightaway.
Look out, look out. Malukas is first one on the list. Got to go to the inside. McLaughlin can't get there though, not close enough. Teammate is coming. Here comes Joseph Newgarden on the high side. Newgarden on McLaughlin. It's going to be a drag race. Newgarden has done it. Newgarden wins on the final lap.
You're the man.
How about that? Wow. That epitomizes it is not over until it's over. Joseph Newgarden and the PPG Chevy wins in Texas.
Let's go. Good team.
After Scott McLaughlin led 186 of the 248, there's only 1 lap that counts, and Newgarden did it.
I looked down at timing, I saw Ilott's lap time, and I thought, oh boy, this is going to be an absolute traffic light coming out of turn 2. Everybody was kind of jockeying for position. Newgarden had a big run of steam. He went for the clean air, but he also went for a very dirty piece of racetrack. That was blind faith late in the race.
And it was the first time he'd really been up there in the last few laps. We hadn't seen him even attempt to stick that wing out on Scott McLaughlin up to that point. So big, bold move from Joseph Newgarden, but he had to do it. It was now or never, and just gutted. A 2nd place for 2 years in a row, but he is going to be devastated with that result.
Yeah, he can't believe it.
Everything right.
He did. He really did do everything right. I mean, you heading into turn 3 there as a driver, you've got to make that decision. 1 corner to go. Do you try to stuff it in there? Do you try to force the issue? Just too big a risk on a rookie driver, and this man capitalizes. Beautiful, beautiful measured drive for that last 20-25 laps from Joseph Newgarden.
That would be 21 races here that have been won by less than a second.
I told you.
With the winning margin, 67 hundredths of a second.
That's miles compared to me, Greg.
Wow.
Great stuff from Newgarden. You know, Kyle Moyer had told McLaughlin, hey, Newgarden's going to be coming at some point. I don't think either McLaughlin or his team expected it to be on the very last corner.
You know, it's I'm definitely excited. We've got a post-race show coming on Peacock because I definitely want to hear what this man has to say. And let's also throw out a shout out to Jimmy Johnson. He did fall to 6th place. Scott Dixon got him at the end, but a phenomenal result for Jimmy Johnson. His best IndyCar finish on his first oval, and they're the 2 teammates chatting, comparing notes. Jimmy's definitely going to be thrilled with that result.
And Scott will be so proud of Jimmy Johnson. He'll say, well done, mate. Really well done. For this guy here, will be devastated. 186 laps led. Unfortunately, did not lead to the checkered flag. Marcus Ericsson says, well done. They enjoyed their race.
But chin up for McLaughlin. You come out of here leading the championship by 28 points. You've won on a street circuit. You haven't won an oval yet, but you've done just about everything you need to do But in the end, Newgarden had a trick up his sleeve.
Oh, I thought he was going to fall over too for a second there. Was it going to be a Penske thing? Look at the elation there. That team's so happy. Only hit the lap that mattered there.
Let's go, Team 2 was the quote. How about that? I love to see both sides of it. Nobody's more down on himself when it doesn't go to plan than Joseph Newgarden, but when it goes right, he wants to celebrate with his team. The reward for all that hard work.
St. Pete definitely did not go the way for this guy that he was hoping. Both of his teammates on the podium, him a little further back, but this is definitely a great comeback.
Wow, you can see the emotion. Joseph Newgarden fired up for that one. How in the world? 67/100ths of a second. How did you pull off that pass for the win?
Oh my gosh, I was fuming in the car because we had all this traffic and it wasn't helping me. And then right when I needed it helped me literally last corner, last lap, the traffic helped me out. Unbelievable PPG car in victory lane. Also our XPEL car. How about Scott? I think he led like 95% in the laps. I hate doing that to a teammate, but you know, I was going for it just like he was. We were driving hard. Man, I was loose. I was driving things sideways off of 3-4 every lap. I was trying to get a run, but Team Chevy, what an unbelievable job, right? We showed up, got the pole, got the win for Team Chevy's camp, and just so pleased for everybody. It was so good to drive this PPG car again with Team Chevy.
You mentioned the battle with a teammate. You are driving for your own team, but how do you handle that conversation now with Scott?
I don't know what he's gonna say, or he is, dude. I was livid because I was hounding you with all the traffic.
I had no tires left in the front.
Saw that, but I was like, you know what? I went up high. I said, if I hit the fence, fuck, I hit the fence. I was like, I didn't know if you were gonna go up there though.
You ever had a more dramatic win and pass for the win than that?
Never. Last lap, last corner. That's what it's all about at Texas. I hope we come back. Let's come back.
Joseph Newgarden, a cowboy hat, and some six-shooters awaits.
And you heard Scott McLaughlin say, well done, bro, 600. What he was referring to, that is Team Penske's 600th win as a racing organization. And this is the Children's Miracle Network moment of the race. There could not have been another. That's what .067 seconds looks like. Margin of victory.
Who said you can't pass in Texas?
And pass for the win. Just ask Joseph Newgarden. Incredible. Hey, a reminder that the NTT IndyCar Series heads west for the Grand Prix of Long Beach. That's Sunday, April 10, right here on NBC. Coming up next, it's the final round of the Valspar Championship. On behalf of the whole team, thanks so much for joining us here in Texas. You've been watching IndyCar on NBC Sports, and we say congratulations to Joseph Newgarden and Team Penske. 600 wins, and they've won the first two races of the 2022 NTT IndyCar season. We'll see you out west in Long Beach.
I said if I'm hitting the fence, I'm hitting the fence, but I'm going.
For everybody joining us on Peacock, welcome. What a dramatic finish. What a dramatic finish with Joseph Newgarden rounding up Scott McLaughlin in the closing yards and feet to the line to be victorious. There's the man who dominated the day, and it's time to hear from him in our special post-race coverage. Here's Marty.
Well, Scott McLaughlin breaking this one down with his engineer, Ben Bretzman. Man, what are the emotions? How do you process that one, Scott?
I mean, second's a great day. Unfortunately, we lit a lot of laps, and at the end of the day, we lost it. But if you're going to lose it to anyone, your teammate's the guy you want to lose it to. So congrats to Joseph and his PPG team. But yeah, gutted I couldn't get down for XPEL and Chevy. But at the end of the day, we're there, and I learned a lot this race. It's going to bode us pretty well going to the Speedway. But man, I'm gutted. It'll hurt. It's how it is. But I'm pretty proud of how we've run.
Take us behind the wheel. What was your view of what was happening, and how much of a factor do you think lap traffic was going to play?
Yeah, I mean, it was always going to play some sort of a part. It's just oval racing, but I think at the end of the day, you know, my car wasn't probably as good as it had been in traffic the whole race, and I knew I was building push, I was building tightness, and once he sort of got a wing on me on the outside there, I couldn't come up and block the line. Like that was sort of stuck, you know. And I thought about going the outside of Malukas at the end there, and I was worried that I would push up into the grey, into the fence. So you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. I'll learn from this, I'll grow from this, and just get on with it. But you know, I thought we put on a really good race.
Had that not been a teammate and a good friend, would you make a different move there and maybe block that move?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, for sure. Now, probably next time I think about it, but things are happening in a split second. I'm a human. I got to learn it, and it was the first opportunity of me leading a race at the end with a guy at my backside. I don't know, but you know, I'm a clean driver. Just didn't do it today, and unfortunately that's how it is. But you know, the guys are great pit stops. Really proud of them. Had some great fans out here today, and yeah, I'm excited for what's next in the next few weeks.
To put a good spin on this, you finished second here last year. You were thrilled out of your mind. Today you finished second, and you're crushed.
Yeah, I am, but that's part of the development, and we're going to keep getting stronger. And I've got a lot more to learn. I'm just thankful for turning a hobby into a profession and just enjoying it.
What a drive from Scott McLaughlin. It's not the win, but it's second, Kevin.
And a very impressive drive for Jimmy Johnson. There were a lot of expectations from others and from you coming into this event. Your first IndyCar oval. Did you expect to run in the top 5 and finish 6th, though, honestly?
No, that would have been, a home run. So I feel like I came very close to doing that. I hoped to have qualified in the top 10 and the race in the top 10 and missed the qualifying mark by a bit. But once we hit the halfway point in the race, I really could sense and feel the car, and it became second nature, and off I went. So just very thankful for the support that I have from Chip Ganassi Racing, my teammates, team members, the fantastic support from Carvana that I've received, the American Legion, Ally Bank. We knew going oval racing would help, and today got us in the competitive mix.
You passed some heavy hitters, some Indy 500 winners, some champions. You touched on it. How did your confidence improve throughout this race? Did you realize what you were doing?
There were a few moments, but they quickly vanished because things are coming at you so fast in these race cars. But when I was racing with Dixie at the end, I thought that was pretty cool and pretty fun. We had a little trouble with our telemetry and didn't know how much fuel I had saved, so I had to really go into conserve mode at the end, and couldn't fight for that top 5. But what a special day. Just very thankful. A big hello to my family and their support, my fan base. This is a lot of fun.
On the cool-down lap, I heard your engineer, Eric Cowden, telling you great job, and now let's go win the Indy 500. That's next as far as ovals are concerned. Are you ready?
Yeah, no pressure. This is a huge step in having a successful, month in May at the Brickyard. Granted, it's going to be a new track and a whole new learning curve, but all the laps that I logged in the last 2 days are going to be so helpful heading to the Indy 500.
In the meantime, he's got another trip back home to Long Beach coming up in just a few weeks. Great day for Jimmy Johnson. Marty.
Another nominee for Drive of the Day, Marcus Ericsson. How about that? Starting 14th in a day when everybody said you can't pass at Texas. You wind up finishing 3rd. Best oval performance, first podium. What do you take away from the day?
Yeah, no, it was a really good day for us. We had really good, good pace at times, but the car was quite tricky to drive, so we had to work on it throughout the race. But yeah, I thought it was really fun out there. The track was a lot better than last year with, what IndyCar has done with downforce levels and all that. So it felt a lot more raceable. So that was fun. It was some fun restarts and start and some fun wheel-to-wheel battles. So that was really fun. And then to get my first podium on an oval it feels really, really good.
When you came over from F1, I got to admit, ovals were not your favorite thing. Would you ever have imagined you had been in contention like this, leading 10 laps and finishing on the podium?
That was always my goal. I went into, IndyCar racing without, any experience on the ovals, and it was a big learning curve. Luckily, I had a really good teammate that year that taught me so much. But joking.
Teammate wishes he had some lessons back because you beat him today.
No, but I'm thinking Hinge.
Oh, there. Hey, Hinge gets some credit. I thought you were talking about Dixon.
No, Hinge. So he taught me a lot actually that first year. So yeah, but I've come a long way for sure. It's a lot about tactics on oval and reading the race, being on top of your tools and all those things. And I've been working a lot on that, working a lot in the off-season with Dario as well to try and improve my oval performance, because if you look at last year, street and road course, I think we were second in the championship, and on ovals we were like way back. So we needed to improve on ovals. To start off with a third on the first race is a very good start.
Impressive day for Marcus Ericsson, Kevin. And by the way, he gave Hinch some credit for that run this afternoon.
His teammate Scott Dixon has a top 5. Tell me about your day.
Average. I made some poor choices, I think, especially when everybody started to turn up. I think we could have gone a little bit earlier. The 8 car they turned up, and I kind of got offline and then got, a bit of a train going by. And then honestly, coming out of the pits on that last stop, I got caught up with the 77. I think he was trying to run long and try and, maybe wait for a caution or something. I saw he was leading the race at that point, but got caught behind him and then got checked up. I was in almost second gear in 1 and 2, and then got another 3 or 4 cars got by. So it was just trying to recoup that. So honestly, I think we had a car that was definitely for a top 3. I just made some bad choices, and we were super loose at the end, nearly spun probably 5 or 6 times.
I know from an engineering standpoint, this race doesn't really apply to the Indianapolis 500, but from a driver's standpoint, does it help get you in any rhythm for something that's not the next race, but it is the next oval race?
Not really. This place is pretty unique to itself. So it's even on the conditions, the ambient changes it quite a lot. So yeah, it's nice to get to an oval. I got to say too, it was great to be racing with Jimmy there for a bit. That was pretty exciting, and got him just closely towards the end there. But kudos to the team. I think it was all 4 cars in the top 7 there. So obviously a win is what we want, and now we've got to really start turning it up. We've got to start moving on this championship here.
Thanks, Scott. Lee?
Well, Kevin, all I have to say is, how about that? Second win at Texas Motor Speedway for Joseph Newgarden. 21st career win, but it was the way in which he won that 248 lap race. He only led 3 laps. He led the most important one, 600ths of a second. The margin of victory, quite extraordinary. You feel for McLaughlin, but if we go right back, you're busy doing Sebring. If we go right back to the beginning of the weekend, he was a guy who looked good right from the very first few laps.
I mean, after that first practice, you would have called those 2 to be the top 2. So it's really interesting to see how that played out. Both of those guys had very solid weekends, no mistakes, executed perfectly. And yeah, I know Scott McLaughlin's a little bit disappointed with that result. But again, if you're disappointed with the second place, then you're doing something right.
Yeah, and the key for me today was just maturity. Maturity and experience. The drivers that finished in the top 5 or 6, even though Jimmy Johnson doesn't have IndyCar experience, he has racing maturity. He made good decisions at all the right times. There was a little bit of youthful craziness out of this cat at the end, going cowboy high, wide, and handsome around the outside for turn 4 there for the win. But he got himself in that position because of patience and good experience. We saw a lot of examples today of young guys going big, getting a little outside their shoes, and it didn't pay off. In some cases, it didn't pay off at all. They ended up in the fence. So I think experience and maturity is what really paved the way for success at Texas today.
As the Penske boys debriefing, Will Power and Scott McLaughlin just chewing over what went down on a very eventful day that we're going to relive right now, with an interesting start of Alexander Rossi popping out of the line, going past a few cars. He addressed that, but it wouldn't turn out to be his day. Scott McLaughlin very early on made his intentions very clear.
Yeah, he went right to the high side around Felix Rosenqvist, who started from pole. And then Rossi, ex-teammate here, Hinch, he had issues.
Yeah, had to serve a penalty for that jump start, but it wasn't really an issue at that point. Mechanical problems on the 27 Napa Auto Parts car, and another devastating result for Alexander Rossi and the 27 crew.
That bright yellow car of Devlin DiFrancesco factored into a lot of drama today. Here he's low, slides up into Sato. Sato up into where there is no grip, gets into the wall.
Trouble for one yellow car, trouble for another yellow car. The DHL Honda of Romain Grosjean. Smoke puffing from the car. Maybe an overheating issue. Nonetheless, his day was done. And then there was drama for the Arrow McLaren SP team on pit road.
2 cars that were running incredibly well all came unhinged at the exact same time, coming in under yellow. Pato O'Ward hitting his inside front crew member. He was evaluated at the medical center, and Felix Rosenqvist had gone long, in his stop. Then a problem on the right rear, a 16-second stop really eliminated both these cars from contention today.
Lap 115, DiFrancesco inside of Kyle Kirkwood. Kirkwood trying to go up where there wasn't any grip. Lost control after a sensational start to his day. He was the biggest mover at one point in this race, and then lap 130 Hinch. See another bright yellow car. It's the same one.
3 does not fit into 2. It's definitely only a 2-lane racetrack at best here in Texas, and 3 good cars that have been using some great track position and passing to get done, eliminated from the race. All drivers okay.
It all came down to the 248th and final lap, final corner, as Joseph Newgarden swept around the outside of his teammate Scott McLaughlin to grab the win by 0.06 of a second. Incredible win that capped off a really enjoyable day here at Texas Motor Speedway in the XPEL 375 and getting to pop the 6 shooters. So, unofficial results at this point. It's a Penske 1-2, and it's a Penske 1-2 on the season as well, with the team winning both races. Marcus Ericsson, the standout there on the podium. Really good result, but we can't let that page turn until we address Jimmy Johnson.
Well, not only Jimmy Johnson, but how about Santino Ferrucci? I mean, 9 a.m. this morning, gets the phone call, hops in, delivers a top 10, stays out of trouble. Spectacular reminder of Santino Ferrucci's ability.
And Rinus VeeKay had some incredible moves late in the race. They're ultimately not able to have the pace between fuel and tires. Ended up 10th.
Looking back, a lot of stories that what could have been, what should have been. Pato O'Ward certainly jumps out. He won this race last year in Texas. Colton Herta struggled, running low on fuel at the end by virtue of that early pit stop.
How about J.R. Hildebrand comes back in, races here at Texas for the first time in 5 years, and posts a 14th place finish right behind his team boss, Ed Carpenter. Christian Lundgaard's day could have been better. He was headed for a really good result until that late brush of the wall late in the race, and all the way back to car 27 in position 27, Alexander Rossi. His teammate, Devlin DeFrancesco, spoke to Marty earlier today.
Devlin DeFrancesco out of the infield care center. First of all, you okay? And I want to get your take on what happened there.
Yeah, I'm fine. You know, just hugely disappointed for the number 29 Power Top Andretti Steinbrenner crew. You know, we had a great race car, making moves, making spots in the pits, you know, jumping people, and seemed to have a fast race car all day. You know, a big sorry to Graham and to Helio. You know, I had quite a good run off of 2 and into 3 and just ended up a little bit under the apron, and that caused quite a big shunt. So sorry to them, and you know, focus forward to Long Beach.
Graham said he had a conversation with you. How, from your perspective, did that go?
Yeah, it's fine. You know, we spoke about it, and you know, again, sorry to them, because you know, that was quite risky, and maybe that wasn't needed with 120 something laps to go. But you know, we'll learn from it and focus forward to Long Beach.
Devlin DeFrancesco out early here at Texas.
And there's a young man in his rookie season in IndyCar who is not afraid to have a go. He's shown good speed. There's some bonus money.
I think that's $600 to mark
for
600
the 600
wins.
Nice work from Roger Penske to Joseph Newgarden, and there's the $600 for the 600th win. That's a good day. A nice little bonus, Marty.
It's a good little bonus. We should get over there and tell Newgarden he's got a $600 bonus from the boss for the 600th win. He should buy dinner for the entire team. What do you think?
Well, it should be In-N-Out Burger, because that's where we always go as soon as we leave the circuit. So it's his shout.
Yeah, Will Power, terrific run for you. You wind up 4th today. Tell me about the cat and mouse game and the chess game out there. Saving fuel, wanting to lead, wanting not to lead. How was that?
Yeah, that was tough. You know, it's so hard to predict when the guys behind you would make the jump, and they got me, and you know, then I suddenly fell back to 4th. But I didn't feel like I had the car to win anyway. I was struggling with being loose. I don't think I was quite as good as the other 2 guys on the team. So I was really happy with 4th. Just kind of hung on there and playing the long game. You know, big congrats to Roger and Joseph for a mega win, and obviously Scott did a solid job all weekend. He led all the way until the end there, but he's also playing along. I mean, you know, he finished 1st and 2nd. That's a pretty good start of the season.
Let's talk about the start to the season for you. You said for years, since your championship year, I just want consistency. 3rd, 4th to start the year. How you feeling about how the 12 team's shaping up?
Yeah, just focusing on each race and getting the most out of it, and you know, keeping in mind as a championship, you know, that we're in. So really happy with the start of the season.
Considering how your Indy went last year, to show up at the Oval here at Texas and have all this speed, how encouraged are you for a few weeks from now for the 500?
I'm maybe quietly confident. Last year we were confident going in because we'd done a lot of work. So let's just see. I mean, we've worked hard. Obviously, we were very fast here. I think Chevy's really strong this year. So yeah, it would be mega to get the Verizon. A pole or a win at Indy would be just something real special considering the last few years. So we'll see what happens.
He knows how significant that is. Will Power, all the Penske drivers here hanging out in victory lane. They're going to put on those 600th win hats and celebrate a little bit with the captain, who is down here now, as you saw.
Marty, this young man was planning on watching the race today from his couch. Instead, Santino Ferrucci steps in for Jack Harvey. Jack was also nice enough to let him borrow his race suit. It's fortuitous that you moved here in the offseason, then you were here and ready and available.
Oh man, I just came to the track yesterday just to come hang out, see some friends, you know. And then I'm just at to dinner, and Rico, our team manager, gives us a call. He says, hey man, do you have stuff here? Like, I saw you in the paddock. I'm like, oh yeah, bro, I live 35 minutes from the track right in Dallas. He's like, okay, can you just come to the track in the morning just in case? Like, we have no idea what's going on. And I was like, show up, and sure enough, about 9 o'clock, they were changing the car out to put my pedals in. And to be honest with you, I can't really thank Ray Hall and Letterman Lanigan enough for trusting me to jump back in this car. So it's a big deal not to have any practice and just come out to a super speedway like this and go haul.
I think 13 oval IndyCar starts, top 10 now in 9 of them, 9th today. So what was the approach in a car that you have done a handful of laps in this morning just to kind of feel it out?
Well, I wasn't even in my seat this morning when I did my handful of laps, so I was floating around. I was just more or less doing an install check. I mean, these guys built a brand new race car last night. So they rolled out Jack's Indy 500 car, who I also have to now compete against in the 500 with, and basically it was take care of the baby and the pride and joy, and you know, I respect that because I raced that car last year. So, but no, to be honest with you, I wasn't really told to hold back much. I just wanted to be conservative myself. Once we got about halfway through the race, I finally just let loose and worked our way up into the top 10, and we just kind of stayed there, and that's all we had, man.
Well done. And Santino will be in the Indy 500. He has entered in a second car with Dryan Reinbold Racing with Sage Karam as its teammate. By the way, I did talk to Jack Harvey. He felt good this morning when he woke up, but as the day went on, headache a little bit. He's going to get tested again on Tuesday and then maybe again later in the week and hopefully be cleared to drive soon for Long Beach. Let's move over to David Malukas, the top finishing true rookie in IndyCar, finishing 11th on the lead lap. What was it like?
Oh man, I don't know. As soon as they were counting down the laps, I was counting them down as well. I was putting everything on eco mode, letting my hands rest because, man, it was a long race.
So, was it what you expected? Anything that surprised you a little bit of trying to deal with traffic and everything that goes along with IndyCar oval racing?
The main thing that surprised me is how massive the toe is in an IndyCar. I mean, if you're trying to set somebody up in turn 4, you're already setting them up on the start-finish line to get the move done in turn 4. And it's quite impressive. I mean, almost like a whole lap, you'll be lifting halfway just to kind of get the timing on the exit of like 2, for example, to get that move done. And that's kind of what surprised me. And through all the practices, I was able to learn and build up to it coming for this race.
Was this about all you could hope for? Everybody says run all the laps. You did that.
Yeah, no, as soon as I got buckled into the seat, I was like, okay, it's time to just finish this race. So, but honestly, P11, I'm so happy for it. We also had, I mean, almost a massive moment in 4, stalled in pit lane, having some issues with the RPM coming up. And, you know, through all of that, we still ended up P11. I think that's what makes IndyCar so great, and also this track. It gives you moments like that.
Thanks, David. That's David Malukas. Back to Marty.
Roger Penske taking this moment to take some shots here with his drivers. The 600th win for Team Penske. Tim Cindric just finally made his way to victory lane here, so they're all taking this moment. What a cool moment for Team Penske. 56 years, this organization. Think about all the global wins for this team as well. Scott McLaughlin got a few for him in Australia and Indy 500s and NASCAR championships as well. When you started this thing 56 years ago, would you ever have imagined and dreamed of 600 wins?
I'm just glad I'm here 56 years later. That was a win in itself, but you know, what a great day for Team Penske and all the people, many of them that aren't here today that made this what it is. great 600 wins, and the two guys there at the end, they had to make it pretty exciting, but I'm so proud of everyone.
Let's stick with the 600 wins. When you think about that, who comes to mind? Does it always go back to Mark Donahue at the very beginning? What comes to mind for you?
Oh, you got Donahue, you got Mir. I got so many that we had so many drivers. Every one of them made a difference, and to me, it's the people behind them too. And the great thing with our sponsors, that we've had so many of them, you got to give them a high five also. But I want to thank my wife and my family for sticking with me for this long to get to 600.
How were the nerves on those final few laps? Because it looked like Scott was going to get number 2.
Well, I was up in the suite. I'm not allowed to be down in the pit, so I was biting my nails. I couldn't say anything, but just hope they didn't get together.
Well, let us start for Team Penske for the 22 year, but overall, 600 wins. What an incredible feat for the captain and everyone at Team Penske.
Hinch and I were having a chat yesterday during the practice sessions, Townsend, that I was with Roger shortly after the 500th win, and he was already calculating how long or how quickly he thought the team could get to 1,000 wins. So he's already 100 closer.
Always working the numbers. Always working. I was a little worried when he was counting out those hundreds to Newgarden. He might run out of cash, but I don't think that's going to be a problem. They've won a lot of prize money through the years, Hinch, and what an incredible achievement to do it here in Texas.
It's an incredible organization, a great team effort. First, second, and fourth today. They're first and second in the points with Scott McLaughlin and Will Power. I mean, you just can't say enough about this group. They've had a couple lean years. They've always been known as one of the powerhouse teams, but sometimes, we saw a few years ago the Speedway really struggled to even get the cars in the show at one point. So it's not always been rosy for these guys and girls, but they dig deep, always come back strong.
Okay, let's look at the championship points after 2 of 17 races in 2022 and have a look at the column on the right as to who changed. Joseph Newgarden with a massive leap forward. McLaughlin continues to lead over Will Power, who jumps from second to third. Palou in third. Ericsson leaps forward 4 positions, so some good movement.
Yeah, you heard it out of Scott Dixon, though. P6 after 2 races in the championship. It's like he's got his giddy up kind of fired, and he's thinking, I need to start running up front. This is tough. I need to make some podiums happen and get after the program if I've got a chance this season.
And guys, Marcus Ericsson, 5th in points. He was kind of the sleeper in St. Pete without that penalty. I really believe he was going to be on the podium here today in Texas. A great season lining up for the number 8 car.
He likes to be known as the sneaky Swede, and he is just sneaking his way up there into the top 5. All right, so we'll take a little break, and then we head west to the Grand Prix of Long Beach for a battle by the beach. Really looking forward to that. So we've got a lot to talk about, haven't we? Even though there's only been 2 races, so much has happened on the first street course race and the first oval of the year, Marty.
Joseph Newgarden was trying to remember if he'd ever won on a last lap pass before. Have you?
I can't recollect. I think in junior cars I might have done that, certainly not in IndyCar racing. I'm so pumped for the 2-car guys. I think that's the coolest victory we've ever had, just last lap. I had pretty much conceded with a lap and a half, 2 laps to go, because it was too difficult. We were in traffic, and it's so tough to make a move on someone else that's quick when he's getting a tow from cars in front of him. So I was like, man, if we would have had clear track, him and I, we probably would have been passing back and forth the entire final stint. But we got a little bit stuck on all this lap traffic, and so I was pushing, couldn't get close enough, was loose off of turn 3 and 4. And then I was like, man, I think I just got to give this up. He's going to win this race. And coming off turn 2, last lap, I'm like, oh, there may be an opportunity here. And it just presented itself. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go for it. If I hit the fence, I hit the fence. Scott will still win. I was like, we're still getting a team victory if I hit the fence. I mean, maybe I can, limp the thing home. But I just went for it, and the car was there. So I was, so pleased.
That's awesome. You have a little something in your right front pocket as well. Yeah. Did you know the bonus was coming?
Marty, this is what you call cold, hard cash, okay? And the boss, Roger Penske, is so true to his word, all right? He's got the golden rule, like he just knows it. And he said at breakfast 2 weeks ago, he was like, whoever wins number 600, I'm gonna pay him $600. And he's got $600 cash right here on the spot. Doesn't make a man wait. Unbelievable. I'm going to go buy some In-N-Out burger, I think, for the team.
Okay, so Power says you have to buy for the entire, not team, organization, because you got enough to cover it.
It's fine. It's on the boss. It's on the boss.
In all seriousness, to win number 600 for Team Penske, where's that going to rank in big wins in your life?
You know, I don't know. It's getting a little bit silly at this point, to be honest. I think when I started here, we were going for 400, and then they just ripped straight to 500, and now 600. It's like, you know, their accomplishments are just so immense that, you know, I think what they do a good job of at the team is making sure they appreciate and recognize the moments. There's, you know, think about all the sweat and the work that's been put into these victories from every single person. So I don't want to gloss over that and just, you know, try and, you know, get too greedy and just say, oh, we're going on to the next. It's kind of how I feel as a competitor, though. You just go to the next race. It's never enough. But there really has been a tremendous amount of work, 50-plus years of this team, hitting 600. It's a big deal when you really think about it.
You know what you need to do? You need to walk when you get back to the shop in Mooresville, North Carolina, put that trophy, walk down the hall on the NASCAR side, and just remind them, put the 600 hat on it. We won the 600, not the NASCAR guys.
Get a little team rivalry going, you know, IndyCar versus NASCAR. I like it.
Yeah, there you go. Joseph Newgarden, a happy guy in victory lane. And you can tell, Diff, it's funny, he's still processing exactly how he pulled that off. I'm not sure he's got an exact answer yet, but he's still in amazement that he made it happen.
I like how he said he was going to go for it regardless. If he walled it, there was still going to be a team win. So go for it or nothing. Well done, Joseph Newgarden and the PPG Chevy for victory here at Texas Motor Speedway. Again, a short break in the series, and then we'll see you on the streets of Long Beach, California for the Grand Prix of Long Beach Round 3, and you'll see that on NBC Sunday, April 10. On behalf of Townsend Bell, James Hinchcliffe, Kevin Lee, Marty Snyder, and our whole production team, this is Lee Diffie saying, see you next time. What a weekend here at Texas.